Okay, sounds good. The time is now 6:15, so we're going to go ahead and get started with the Tempe City Council regular council meeting, which is all virtual due to COVID-19. It is Thursday, February 10th, 2022. The time is now 6:15 p.m. Our apologies for being a little bit late. We were working on an executive session, which we'll have to finish afterwards as well. The city council meeting is being held virtually through the WebEx. You can visit tempe.gov/clerk for more information on how to join the virtual meeting. The meeting can also be watched in real time via Cox Cable Channel 11 and at tempe.gov/tempe11. Item number 1 is moment of silence. I'd like to invite everyone to please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you very much. Item number 2 is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Next up, we have item number 3, meeting minutes. Tonight, I will be assisted by Councilmember Garland. Councilmember Garland.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to make a motion to approve our meeting minutes 3A 1 through 2.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilmember Garland. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Cubie. Just want to let all council members know this evening we will not be using the e-voting system. I'll be taking a roll call vote for all votes. So I'm going to go ahead and start with Councilmember Navarro. Councilmember Cubie.
Aye.
Councilmember Garland.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Keating.
Yes.
Councilmember Arenado Savage.
Aye, Mayor.
Councilmember Adams.
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. That item passes 6-0 with Councilmember Navarro, I see you there.
Aye.
There we go. That item passes 7-0. Thank you so much. Next up, we have item 3B, acceptance of board, commission, and committee meeting minutes. Councilmember Garland.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to make a motion to approve the acceptance of the board and commission committee meeting minutes 3B 1 through 9.
It's been moved by Councilmember Garland. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Cubie. I'll call for a roll call vote here. Councilmember Navarro.
Aye.
Councilmember Cubie.
Aye.
Councilmember Garland.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Keating.
Yes.
Councilmember Arenado Savage.
Aye, Mayor.
Councilmember Adams.
Aye, Mayor.
And I vote aye as well. That item passes 7-0. Next up, we have item 4, reports and announcements. First up is 4A, mayor's reports and announcements. I have a proclamation for Black History Month, which I'm going to go ahead and read. Whereas Black History Month became a month-long celebration in 1976 to honor the too often neglected accomplishments of Black Americans throughout our history. And whereas the month of February is dedicated to the history of Black Americans, to include Carter G. Woodson, known as the father of Black history. And whereas, despite the formal designation of this month-long celebration, the struggle and injustice of Black Americans persists, to which we must remain vigilant in acknowledging and addressing the past while illuminating policies that need to be changed, as well as inadequate and unequitable programs that need to be overhauled. And whereas organizations such as the AGC Collectors Club, the African American Advisory Committee, and the Tempe Black Employee Alliance, as well as others, have bravely and passionately educated our Tempe community, elevating the rich history, perspectives, and culture of Tempe since 1995, and thereby allowing for the ability to hold space for each other at difficult times. And whereas in the oft-cited words of Reverend Theodore Parker, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and President Barack Obama, the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. And whereas this month and every month, the city of Tempe shall honor the history of Black Americans and continue to make multicultural diversity a priority. Now, therefore, I, Corey Woods, mayor of the city of Tempe, Arizona, do hereby declare February 2022 as Black History Month in Tempe, Arizona. Next up is item 2, which is the City of Tempe Board and Commission appointments. Just want to note that there are new appointments to the city's Fire and Police Public Safety Personnel Retirement System boards, Risk Management Trust Board, Sustainability and Resilience Commission, and Veterans Commission, as outlined in item 6A1 on tonight's agenda. So please feel free to check those out when you have an opportunity. And next up here, we have item 4B, City Manager's Reports and Announcements. Mr. City Manager.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of council. Very pleased tonight to welcome Brianne Fisher and a couple of guests to make a presentation regarding the Climate Justice Agenda, Unlimited Potential. So take it away, Brianne.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Brianne Fisher coming to you for the first time as Climate Action Manager. I know you have a packed agenda tonight, but we are very grateful for the opportunity to share some of the work that we are very proud of. As you know, we've been working on the Climate Action Plan updates. The last time we were in front of you, we highlighted our business agenda with the Tempe Chamber of Commerce. And as City Manager Ching mentioned, tonight we have Unlimited Potential with us to highlight the work of the Climate Justice Plan. Unlimited Potential is an established and trusted community-based organization that has done incredible work throughout the Valley in the last few decades. We are very grateful for their partnership in developing the climate justice agenda. We're in front of you because the approach that we took with the city in the passenger seat and Unlimited Potential in the driver's seat really led to authentic engagement and feedback, and that's what we're excited to share with you tonight. I just want to put a plug in. We do have the draft Climate Action Plan update available for the public online through the Tempe Forum, and we will be coming to you at the March 3rd regular council meeting for a formal approval of the Climate Action Plan update. With that, I will hand it over to Emma and Tasha from Unlimited Potential.
Thank you. Thank you. First of all, thank you for the opportunity to be here presenting. And most importantly, thank you for your interest in the community input. Tempe is a true leader in an example of how cities should be working with the community. Let me, as Brianna mentioned, Unlimited Potential was approached from a year ago with the intention to bring to the climate justice, the Climate Action Plan, a climate justice agenda, and to bring the voice of the community to the plan, that be represented in the plan. As such, we worked for 8 months from April to November with a series of formal and informal. If we can move to the next slide, please. We work with a series of formal and informal conversations with the community. We had all our workshops were bilingual. We have meetings with partners, meetings with community. We have workshops related to energy and how we could be, how individuals can read their energy bill. We also have conversations about the Envision Center and what the community wanted to see in the Envision Center. Today, we continue to work with the community. And something that is important to know is that once we start working with the community and once you ask the individuals what you want to see, what you want to do, is that we are engaging in a long-term relationship with the individuals, with the community members. And that's how it should be. because we should be able to be responsive to the needs and the changes of the community, which is, as we all know, is something that is constant. We are always changing. And it is our responsibility to be adapting and moving with that. For the next slides, the next few slides, I am only going to highlight some of what we found in these conversations, some of the things that we hear in these conversations. Number one, individuals are very willing and eager to provide feedback, but they want action. People is tired of providing feedback, and that feedback being just stored in a document or stored in some meeting and no action behind them. Individuals want the transparency, which obviously the city of Tempe is providing through all these meetings, all these opportunities. One of the areas that was very highlighted is the land stewardship. And in that, what it means, yes, is the land acknowledgement, which the city has that statement, but it's more than that. It's really an opportunity for Tempe to be a leader again in a place that practice and preserve the culture, a place where actions, the teaching indigenous practice, teaching the languages, the culture, the diversity, the cultural heritage is part of a part of the life of the residents in Tempe. It's also increased the green space, native plants on that, and increase the desert edibles, teaching individuals how to eat the desert edibles. There is quite nutrition in that. The focus on regenerative farming, sustainable and healthy forms of agriculture to be brought to Tempe. Also, in cultivating the empty space as supposed of continue to build buildings, and in some instances when there is construction, to ensure that trees are planted back where those may have been cut down. The next component that was mentioned, it was very much on that innovation and that bringing the innovation to Tempe in terms of using biodegradable products, stop using plastics and use the reusable cloth bags, make solar panels available to all low-income populations, to all individuals, build smaller housing as a solution for their own shelter. Some of the individuals were mentioning the tiny homes as a solution for the unsheltered population. Build green buildings, replant the trees that they're cut. The next slide is about the Envision Center. Great conversations in the Envision Center. Part of that is using the space as an opportunity for the transportation, to make transportation available for older adults, and create the place in a way that there is a socialization component for the older adult population. Develop an education center where languages are taught there, technology, cooking, history of Tempe, and maybe using the same center as a cultural center for native cultures, provide physical activities such as yoga, tai chi, and bring art programs for all ages. There was quite a bit of information divided in the Envision Center. It was divided in 4 main categories. One is health and wellness. The other one was workforce development and affordable housing and resiliency. In summary, really individuals do appreciate the opportunity to provide their ideas. They want to provide their ideas, their opinions, but they want action. Individuals do want a cleaner and greener community where everyone is welcome, listened, and respected. Tasha, if you want to jump in, if I'm missing something, please feel free. Otherwise, thank you everyone for the opportunity. And again, most importantly, thank you for your interest in the community.
This is Tasha Trahan, and I'm happy to jump in, or just if we want to open it up for some questions. I think it was a really amazing 8 months. And as Emma mentioned, we're very grateful and honored to get that opportunity to showcase the work that community-based organizations can do and how they help cities connect with very directly in a very intimate and personal way with the folks that are really affected the most from heat and environmental issues, et cetera. So we as I'm sure you can imagine, it really depends on where a person is. So the things that they're thinking about today. So when we talk to mothers with young children, they talked about parks and bus stops and drinking water along the bus stop or something like that, shaded spaces. They wanted safety. They want things to be clean. They want a lovely park to go play in. They know that there are differences in the city. They see the differences in their neighborhood, and they want to, they ask why. And when we talk to folks like at the Envision Center, we had people coming over in their wheelchairs, for goodness sake. And, they were talking about transportation, and they were so excited that the Envision Center was going to be there and really wanted to participate and lend their voice and come over and help out. So people love the city, people love the desert, and any way that they can get engaged and support it and love up all our natural spaces and then make those more available to more people. That's really a lot of the messages that we receive. So that was exciting to hear.
Mr. Mayor, this is Councilmember Adams. I can't find my ability to raise my hand, so I'm doing it this way.
You are totally the old-fashioned way.
Exactly. So first of all, I want to say that's an excellent presentation, really informative. I really like it that you all went to where the people are. And that just is it's so much more inclusive. Everyone can participate and come out, and the Envision Center, love it. I think it's a great idea. And I'm just really, really happy about the direction on this. So thanks for the wonderful presentation and for your priority on all different kinds of sustainability measures. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Wonderful. Thank you, Councilmember Adams. Any other council members have any additional comments?
Hi, Mayor. This is Councilmember Garland. I just want to say that I went out to the Envision Center, and when you were doing your presentation out there, and the residents came out and they were very excited about having you there and giving their opinion about what they thought that Envision Center could be and what they wanted to see in their neighborhood. And I talked to a number of people that were out there. They were just excited that you were there to listen to them. And you're right, it was great to have it in the conversations in a couple different languages. And then you provided snacks out there for them, and just the great sustainability table that was set up so that people can kind of look at the different things that you guys were talking about and things that you could do. just have to say, I was just so impressed. I'm glad that we have this partnership. I think it's really important for the city. And, I do love the fact that, instead of holding a meeting at the library or downtown, Tempe, that you were out there in their neighborhood. And I think that meant a lot to them. And I just want to say, I'm glad we're working with you, and it's going to be great moving forward. So thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you, Councilmember Garland. Councilmember Cubie.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Tasha. Thank you, Emma. I know that staff, not just sustainability staff, but neighborhood services staff learned so much from you in this process. And it's so important. It was this eureka moment where we heard, wait, maybe we shouldn't be having these sort of passive community engagement exercises where we bring people and to either a Zoom meeting or to an in-person meeting, and we sort of talk at them. That we really go, as Councilmember Adams said, go to where people are. And recognize that there is a certain level of distrust, even with city government. No, we're the most trusted of local of government officials, right? But there's still sometimes a mistrust. So it's important that we go to where people are. And I know that Tempe has taken leadership in this style of community engagement. And I hope that that Maricopa County, that Maricopa Association of Governments, that the utilities, and that other cities will learn from Tempe's example and lead in such a way. And I know I was present at Environment Day, the state capitol the other day, and Mayor Woods, you spoke so eloquently about the regional partnership that we've established with Scottsdale, with Phoenix, with Mesa, and Mesa has made such incredible strides in their sustainability program, thanks to the mayor there, Mayor Giles, and to Jen Duff. And so we need to really recognize that COVID creates a real barrier to understanding and engagement, and really interact with people in a more direct way, and listen to people, and have these solutions be resident led. And so I thank you. Our Climate Action Plan 2.0 is all about equity, infusing equity in practices and in principle. And you really helped us to really walk the talk. And our Climate Action Plan is a robust and vigorous plan because of it. So also thank you to Brianne and to Dr. Braden Kay for all their leadership and all the staff that surround you, and interns that they've made such a difference too in this public engagement process. I think we've had, Graham, correct me, have there been 15 different public engagements over the Climate Action Plan, or is it 19? It's certainly a lot. But you could.
Mayor, Councilmember Kupi, yes, we are actually calculating that right now. We haven't been able to keep it on our hands, so we're tallying up the amount of engagement that we've had. So.
I think for the background, you're saying there's been 86 public engagements. We'll just.
Well, thank you so much, Tasha, Emma, Unlimited Potential, Mayor and Council, for giving us the time and the opportunity to share. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. It has been a pleasure. Bye.
Thank you so much. Great presentation. Thank you for all your great work. Really appreciate it. And Brianne, it's so awesome to see you in your new role. Let me go next. Mr. City Manager, any more announcements?
I don't. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Sounds good. All right, next up, item number 5 is public appearances. According to the Arizona Open Meeting Law, the City Council may only discuss matters listed elsewhere on this agenda for discussion and legal action. The purpose of the open call to the public is to allow individuals to address the City Council on any issue within the jurisdiction of the City Council. Public appearances shall be limited to an aggregate total of 60 minutes. No person shall speak more than once, and there is a limit of 3 minutes per speaker. Speakers must state their name and city of residence. Members of the public shall refrain from making personal, impertinent, or slanderous remarks and from becoming boisterous while addressing the City Council or while attending the meeting. Speakers will be taken first come, first serve in the order in which the cards are received. Speakers not choosing to appear virtually may have their comments read into the record, time permitting. Speakers' visual aids and appearances by phone or recordings are not allowed. Council members are prohibited by state law from taking action on, commenting, or discussing a matter raised by a member of the public, even if asked to do so by a member of the public, so long as the subject discussed by the speaker is not listed on a specific agenda for council's consideration for discussion and legal action. At the conclusion of public appearances, the council may ask the city manager to review a matter or place a matter on a future agenda. I've got a couple of notes in front of me, but I know the clerk has other cards. I'm going to go with what I have here, that the clerk can read whatever else she has or admit other people into the virtual room. The first virtual speaker I have here is Janelle Earnshaw. Ms. Earnshaw, if you can actually state your name and city of residence, and you have 3 minutes to address the city council.
Thank you. I'll try to be quick. Thank you for this opportunity, Janelle Earnshaw. And I first of all need to thank Kara so much. She brought pictures to the council that I was very concerned about with my neighborhood. And also I want to make sure I thank Molly, who's meeting me at 7 a.m. this Saturday. She was with Tempe Police because they've been addressed about my issue is so bad. And also Jessica Wright, who's also addressed my issues, who I have to speak to next week about my issues. My issue is the homeless crisis. It is absolutely out of control. And let me state this right now before anything. I don't feel any sympathy anymore for them. I don't know, what's another word for pigs? The garbage is unsurmountable. It is absolutely overwhelming, the garbage. And I had them bring some pictures to you. It's worse. It's worse. Okay. And one of the big problems is the baseline corridor. And I want the policemen, I want the begging to stop. It's because of our lenient attitude in Tempe, because you allow panhandling. That's the core issue. That's why they're camping here. I live next to Fry's Electronics, which has become vacant. So that's a major problem. And the cops know about it. Tempe police, everyone knows about it, but still, it's because they all congregate there because the baseline and I-10 is on ramps and off ramps. Every single corner, there's and then in the medians, there's usually 6 panhandlers. You're letting them get by. I've read they can make up to 200 a month. There's different people every month, but they camp there. It goes from Priest and Baseline, and they're begging there. And then you go to Arizona Mills and Baseline. There were 3 people camping out in their sleeping bags 3 weeks ago for 3 days. They're gone. Then you go to I-10. Then you go to my beautiful residential street, Kylos Terrace. It goes one way, and it is absolutely trashed because of homeless. And I've actually got Molly with the city police coming to help me, to be honest, because I was crying and there's so much garbage on my street, and I have people coming here. It's dropped me to tears. I'm worried about my property value. And also I want to bring up the fact that if you drive, it's weird, in here, but if you drive south, Chandler doesn't have this problem. Chandler Boulevard and I-25 and 101 and the Chandler X's and all that don't have this problem. The problem is Tempe and where Mesa joins Tempe, the I-10 and the 101, but specifically the Tempe corridor. Go to Scottsdale, no problem. Go to Chandler, no problem. Go to Gilbert, no problem. What is our problem in Tempe, and why also is the cameless? Yeah, and I belong to Nextdoor app. It's an app that thousands join, and they've all complained about the homeless at I-60 and rural. It's a crisis. So I'll shut up now. I know I've been here 3 minutes, but I'm very upset. My property value, I'll shut up. But I want to know what we're doing, and it needs to stop. Clean up the homeless. No more begging. It's the beggars. Stop the begging.
Thank you, Ms. Earnshaw. Really appreciate your time. Thank you for speaking this evening. All right, the next comment cards that we have, I see this one here from Janelyn Granillo, and I believe that Carly, you have that card.
Yes, I do, Mayor. Jenna Lynn, resident of Tempe. Jenna is writing to remind council and the public that City Neighborhood and Community Recognition Awards are due February 15th. City of Tempe Neighborhood Services nominations. Let's give some love to those doing good for our community. Recognition and award help our neighborhood and community. Categories include Beautiful Neighborhood Space Award, Chuck Malpete Award, Neighbor of the Year, Neighborhood of the Year, Neighborhood Event of the Year, Neighborhood Friendly Business, Waterwise Landscape, Sustainability, Dolores Huerta Scholarship, and Arts and Culture. Please see this site for details, www.tempe.gov/government/community-development/neighborhood-services /neighborhood-celebration. As always, thank you for your service. Jenna Lynn Granillo, Tempe resident.
Thank you very much.
Next card comes.
I was going to say,
I have one more.
So you have all the remainder of the cards, so I will just turn it over to you for the remainder of public appearances.
Well, sure. So the next card comes from Daniel, last initial C, resident of Tempe, and Daniel's writing referenced the Arizona Coyotes. House Tempe City Council, with the Board of Regents approving the Arizona Coyotes to play at the new ASU multi-purpose arena on the Tempe campus, I ask that the council consider and approve the building of the Coyotes at home. The new arena and entertainment district will bring a major influx of hockey fans to Tempe from all over the valley and beyond. This will be nothing but a major win for the city and its residents, as it will put Tempe in the national spotlight and make it a destination for hockey fans from all over North America. Thank you for your time and consideration. And Mayor, I do have one comment card for a public hearing item later. I can hold that till that item comes due. Totally up to you.
Sure, absolutely.
Absolutely hold it or absolutely read it now?
Yes, you can absolutely hold it till the actual hearing item comes up, just to keep it in context.
Will do. This will be the 7C2 item for later, so I'll let you know I have a card for that when we come time.
Sounds good.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I think that an individual would rather go now than wait through the entire meeting, judging by the text message that individual just sent me. So maybe we could allow it to speak now.
So,
I'm
Vice
not aware
Mayor,
of that.
yeah, Vice Mayor, this one is to be read into the record. It's not an appearance. We do have 14 other appearances for later. So it's up to you, Mayor, if you want to call people forward now or when the item comes due. I'll leave it up to council on that one.
Vice Mayor Keating, what's your pleasure?
I mean, let's let these people, let's just do it now. I mean, if that's what
we do now? Yep, that's fine.
the rest of the council, like, let's just, I feel bad for the people that have to wait hours and hours to speak. So let's just do it now. We did a lot ourselves to do it. So
yeah, that is totally fine by me. Okay. Let's see. Madam Clerk, do you want to go ahead with the with the kind of letting all the speakers in?
Sure thing, Mayor Woods. First live speaker will be Maricela Mares.
And quick question, Madam Clerk, before Maricela starts, are you going to keep time, or would you like for me to keep time?
No, I'm timing in the background, and I can send you the 30-second warning, or I can give an audible warning if you like. It's up to you either way.
An audible warning would be good, just so people know. Just so if they're getting close to the end of their time, they know sort of to begin to wrap it up.
You got it.
Perfect.
Hi, Council. Thank you. I'm speaking on item number 7, I believe. I don't have the agenda up. I forgot. But my name is Maricela. I live close to Tempe Town Lake on Washington and Parkside Drive. I did not grow up in Tempe, but in living here, studying, and working at ASU, I've come to call Tempe home. Unfortunately, by the end of the year, I will have to leave my home behind due to skyrocketing rent prices. My roommate and I are looking at an increase of $400 in rent and simply don't have the means to sustain that. And, on the proposed project, I really appreciate the project's, proposed donations to funds that help affordable housing and public infrastructure. This council needs to go all in on building more affordable housing. It's projects like this that are actively driving out working families such as my own. Equally concerning to me is the lack of transparency that the public has to this project and its proposed giblets. Exactly how much money will they profit by simply hoarding taxpayers' money? The taxpayers' money that can be used to subsidize affordable housing now, not later. I ask the council and mayor to make more of this information readily available and allow more time for Tempe residents to give comment on this matter. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Madam Clerk, next speaker.
Next speaker, Yolanda Hernandez.
Mr. Mayor, this is Kara. I do not see Yolanda in the attendees list, but we do have 2 call-in speakers. I'm not sure if you would want me to unmute one to see if one of them is Yolanda.
Yes, let's do that just to be safe.
Okay, I'm unmuting the first call-in.
Okay. Is anyone on the line?
Okay.
Can you hear me?
¿Sí me oye?
Yes, hi. Are you calling to speak on an item?
¿Qué está pasando? ¿Está bien?
Él dice que el número 734.
764.
Mr. Mayor, I'm going to try to unmute the other caller.
Okay.
But Mr. Mayor, if there's Spanish language person, perhaps someone from staff could step up and translate. I wouldn't want to stop
Yeah,
their
that's
voice.
that's what I was thinking. If we could unmute the other caller and then try to go back to the other caller and see if we could have someone translate for us.
Okay, I'll do that. Okay,
I'm
you're
here with
unmuted.
Yolanda.
I'm sorry. Hello?
I'm here with Yolanda. I can translate for her if that would be more expedient.
Yes, please. That'd be wonderful. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Hola, mi nombre es Yolanda Hernández. Yo trabajo en el Tempe Mission Palms por 29 años.
Hi, my name is Yolanda Hernandez, and I work at the Tempe Mission Palms Hotel for 29 years.
Yo soy afortunada en tener casa, pero ahorita los costos de vivienda están subiendo demasiado. ¿A qué va a pasar con nuestros hijos que no pueden agarrar casa más adelante?
I am fortunate enough to own my home, but as you know, the cost of home and living has gone up so much, and what's going to happen to the next generation of our kids? Will they able to afford to live?
Tempe necesita más acceso a viviendas de bajo costo.
Tempe needs more access to affordable housing.
Yo aprecio la donación de el costo para el proyecto el proyecto que debería incluir viviendas de bajo costo, no de lujo.
I am grateful for the donation that the project has done, but the project should include affordable housing units.
El costo de vivienda ha subido mucho y las próximas generaciones pues no van a tener la oportunidad de comprar casa como yo lo hice.
And again, the cost of living has gone up so much that future generations will not have the same opportunities I did for home ownership.
Debemos de apoyar proyectos que ofrecen vivienda de bajo costo y no proyectos de lujo a hoteles. Adicionalmente, el público no se le ha dado la suficiente información a tiempo para repasar este proyecto.
And additionally, we should be supporting projects that offer affordable housing and not projects that are building luxury hotels or luxury housing. And additionally, the public was not given enough information or time to review this project.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Madam Clerk, next speaker.
Next speaker, Alcida Miranda.
Please state your name and place of residence. You have 3 minutes to address the City Council.
This is Alcida.
Aló, mi nombre es Alcida Miranda y trabajo en el Tempe Mission Palms Hotel por 7 años.
Hi, my name is Alcida Miranda, and I've been working at the Tempe Mission Palms Hotel for over 7 years.
Y yo pude comprar mi casa en Tempe en el 2018. los precios de vivienda han subido, tanto que si yo intentara comprar mi casa hoy, en día yo no pudiera.
I was able to buy my home here in Tempe back in 2018, but as you know, the cost of housing has gone up so much that I would attempt to buy my home today, I will not be able to afford it.
La ciudad de Tempe necesita más viviendas de bajo costo. Este proyecto debería tener unidades de bajo costo. Deberíamos apoyar proyectos de vivienda de bajo costo, no estar proyectando de lujo o cosas.
And additionally, you know, the city of Tempe needs more affordable housing. This project needs to include affordable housing units, and we should be supporting projects that include affordable housing, not projects that are just purely luxury. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. All right, Madam Clerk, next speaker.
Next speaker, Irma Fuentes.
I have Irma Fuentes here as well.
Okay, sounds good.
Ya. Hola, soy Irma Fuentes. Trabajo en el Mission PAM por 18 años.
Hi, my name is Irma Fuentes, and I've been working again at the Tempe Mission Palms Hotel for over 19 years.
Y siento que personas como yo
No, Anthony.
no han tenido suficiente tiempo o informaciones sobre este proyecto.
And I feel like people like me, we haven't had enough time or information over this project.
Yo tengo una nieta que va a la escuela en Tempe y me preocupa el impacto de las secciones de impuestos a las escuelas.
I have a granddaughter that is currently going to Tempe High School, and I worry about the impact that these tax breaks will have on our school systems.
El concilio deberían darnos más tiempo y más información para entender el tiempo, impacto de escuela, proyecto anual, comunidades. Gracias.
And the city council should give us more time and information to really understand what will be the impact of this project in our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Really appreciate it. Thank you. Let's see. Madam Clerk, next speaker, please.
Speaker, John Silkey.
Okay, sounds good. Please state your name, place of residence. You have up to 3 minutes to address the council.
Hi, my name is John. I'm a Tempe resident. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So yeah, today I'm speaking on the agenda item 7C4 on the development of South Pier at Tempe Town Lake. So I've lived in Arizona most of my life. I currently rent an apartment at Tempe. And just this past year, I've seen my rent go up by over 20%. I've talked to many other friends and family who've reported a very similar experience. You know, I'm lucky that my employment situation is such that I can afford it. But it does cut into my overall finances in a really bad way. I have to send a lot of money to support my parents. You know, my mom has long-term care needs. My father is still working in his 70s to make ends meet. I can't imagine the impact that this is having on our less fortunate Tempe neighbors, similar to other folks who have come on to speak. I bring all this up because, reading through the proposed ordinance for that development, I see a lot of money being granted in the form of tax breaks, like the Jeeplets, allowing something like, 8 years of tax abatement on property taxes, subsidized by, tax-paying Tempe residents. And so, I think Tempe, as well as all of the Phoenix metro area, are going through a housing crisis. And I think I agree with folks who have spoken that we do need projects that include affordable housing. I did notice that the ordinance stipulates, that the developer would have to make a donation of about, $12.7 million to public benefits, which is great. 80% of that would go to the Tempe Coalition for Affordable Housing. All this is good, but it's still unclear, like, what impact that $10 million would have on bringing down housing prices at the scale that this crisis calls for. According to Tempe.gov, at the end of 2020, this coalition had assets in the amount of 10 million. And with that, they were only able to manage about 50 to 60 units. So, based on what I've been able to see in the attached documents on the agenda item, I just don't see any sort of like report on the economic impact that this would have on like housing prices in surrounding neighborhoods. I agree with folks that have said that there's a sort of a transparency issue with this, and I would agree in calling for more time to think, for the community to think about this. I'll also just finally bring up that I think Emma at the very beginning on the climate justice agenda item brought up a good point. Oh, thank you. I'll go ahead and wrap up. But yeah, I agree that we shouldn't just be using public land to build more buildings. If a yes/no vote must happen today, I just urge council members to vote no. Otherwise, I would ask that this be tabled and allow the community more time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Madam Clerk, next speaker, please.
Next speaker, Harley Jackson.
Okay, sounds good. Please state your name, place of residence. You have 3 minutes to address the council.
Hi, yeah, my name is Harley Jackson. I lived in Arizona all my life. I'm an ASU student. So it was extremely difficult. I'm speaking on 7C4 as well. It was extremely difficult to find housing here that could fit into my budget. And I've seen very little affordable housing throughout Tempe. The donation that this project is doing, the South Pier Tempe Town Lake project, is nice, but we need affordable housing to include affordable housing and include affordable houses. We have a ton of high-rise luxury apartments in Tempe, and we're not in a luxury housing crisis. We're in an affordable housing crisis. So I also do feel like hasn't been enough transparency surrounding the South Pier Tempe Town Lake project. The development is going to receive several tax breaks, but the total value of these is unclear. We should be provided with more information and time to review this project and decide whether it's something our community needs. Right now, I don't believe it's the right thing for residents like myself. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Madam Clerk, next speaker, please.
Next speaker, Joshua Wells.
Okay. Mr. Wells, thank you. Please come state your name, place of residence. You do have 3 minutes to address the council.
Hello, my name is Josh Wells. I live in Phoenix, Arizona, and I am the policy researcher for the Case Action Fund. My apologies, give me 2 seconds. One of my kids' toys is playing in the background. You're probably hearing it.
No worries. This will not cut into your time at all. The joys of all of us working from home.
Yes. Yep, I'm the policy researcher for the Case Action Fund, an organization that fights along working families throughout the valley. We are extremely concerned, as many others have stated, about the lack of transparency and information surrounding the South Pier Tempe Town Lake project. There was no presentation given during the January 13th public hearing on this project, and today a development and disposition agreement for it could be approved. This is not fair to the Tempe community, who should be provided time to review the details of a $1.8 billion project before it is approved. Here's what we do know, though. The project is being subsidized by not one, not two, but 7 Jeeplets. This would allow the development to not pay property taxes on 7 parcels of land for 8 years. The public has also not been given the opportunity to review the documentation and calculations showing the expected value of these Jeeplet tax breaks. This is being used to subsidize things like luxury housing in a hotel. And as many have stated, we are in an affordable housing crisis, not a hotel crisis. While a donation is being made to the Tempe Affordable Housing Coalition, and the project does include some senior housing, no affordable housing units are included in the project. It is also unclear what the timeline would be for the aforementioned donation to become actual housing units. Tempe residents need affordable housing to be included in a project like this. There has also been much discussion around the Valley about the negative impact GIPLET tax subsidies have on education and residents. Just last year, the Phoenix Elementary School District passed a resolution opposing GIPLETs, citing that they shortchange school districts of needed revenue and push additional tax costs on the property owners of neighboring homes and businesses. They also stated that the effectiveness of GIPLET as a tool for community center development remains unclear due to the opaqueness of the tax incentive program, which needs more transparency and accountability. Today, we are also asking for more transparency. In closing, we are very concerned by the trend of massive tax subsidies being given away to multi-million and billion-dollar developments throughout the Valley. We stand by our stance that the community benefits are not enough and believe Tempe residents deserve more information and time to provide feedback on this project. Thank you for your time.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Wells. Appreciate it. Madam Clerk, next speaker.
Next speaker, Jordan Taylor.
Can you say that one more time? You cut out a little bit.
Jordan Taylor.
Jordan Taylor. Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Hello, my name is Jordan and I work at ASU in Tempe. Tempe workers deserve better than what we are getting here today with the South Pier at Tempe Town Lake project. First, we deserve transparency. There has not been enough time for Tempe residents to review this project, and the information provided has been limited at best. There should be several weeks, if not months, of public perusal and commentary to see if this is something we want. Our city should directly also be confronting our homelessness crisis with developments that include affordable housing units. Our neighbors in Phoenix are seeing more tent cities pop up, and I hope we can do a better job of taking care of people here in Tempe. If we are going to be giving away large tax breaks, this should be for an emergency shelter so homeless folks can have more stability, work, and thrive. I ask that the City Council give more information and time for us to review this project. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Madam Clerk, next card.
Next speaker, Tia Marshall.
Sounds good.
Mr. Mayor, there is not a Tia in the list, and I don't see any call-in speakers as well.
Okay. Sounds good.
Next speaker, Mickey Schillinger.
Hi, my name is Mickey Schillinger, and I'm a sophomore at Arizona State University studying political science. And I will be talking about the South Pier Project, item 7C4. Tempe has been my home for 2 years now, and I've grown to love this place. As much as I love Tempe because of how close I am to campus and because it is where most of my friends live, the Tempe Town Lake area, which is 5 to 10 minutes away, has no affordable housing. Unfortunately, I will be having to move 35 minutes away from campus for my junior year because I cannot afford to live on or near campus anymore, especially with student loans piling up. It is sad and infuriating that so many students like me are having to go through the same situation. The 35-minute commute ends up costing less than living 10 minutes away from campus. As students, we should not have to put a damper on our college experience because we have to worry if we can't afford rent. My friends who do live in Tempe can only barely afford it because they're working 2 and sometimes 3 jobs on top of school. I know for a fact that their current housing situation directly affects their education, and frankly, that is just sad, very disappointing, and shouldn't be happening in the first place. Affordable housing is an issue that so many college students are facing when our main concern should be our education. I don't want to drive 35 minutes to and from school 5 days a week for the next 2 to 3 years of my college life, but that's the necessary action I must take, or else I would not be able to afford to get an education at all. It's another element of stress that so many college students shouldn't be having to go through. The development that these luxury apartments and hotels would be built on is about 5 to 10 minutes from campus, and I don't understand that if they are going to build something there, why it wouldn't be affordable housing for students and for the people of Tempe. Not to mention, this is the first time we are being given a real presentation about this development. The fact that they are not giving the people of Tempe time to properly think and evaluate this situation so the community can give truly thoughtful feedback is unjust and not fair to anyone. Too often, these developments are rushed through so that these people can keep doing business as usual without stopping to think about how it will affect the community and the people who live here. I'm a citizen of Tempe who is being forced to move because of this affordable housing crisis. So on behalf of my community, I ask that we at least postpone the vote so that Tempe citizens have a fair chance to process the development and information that we just will get today. Thank you.
Thank you. Really appreciate it. Madam Clerk, next speaker, please.
Next speaker, Brandon Ortega.
Okay.
Hello, my name is Brandon Ortega. I am a 20-year-old junior at ASU. I am also here today to talk about the South Pier Project, item 7C4. I have lived here my entire life and I have seen housing become more and more unaffordable. Growing up poor, my family always struggled with housing and even being homeless at times. Yet we were able to manage. And although we were able to somewhat live comfortably recently, last year we were forced out of our home due to dramatic increase in rent. And this is a situation that many families and young people are finding themselves today. I know many council members here care about our communities, their communities, and we need them to protect our families and neighborhoods from being taken over by unnecessary luxury developments. Families, college students, and working people need affordable housing now. This project should include affordable housing units, not just a donation to support affordable housing elsewhere. The Tempe community should be given more time and information to review this project and ensure that we get the community benefits that we need and deserve. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Madam Clerk, next speaker, please.
Next speaker is Jason Ronstadt.
Great.
Hello, my name is Jason Ronstadt. I'm an undergraduate student at ASU. I've lived in Tempe for 4 years now, and I'm speaking on the 7C4. I do not believe that a luxury development should receive 7 giblets and not have to pay 8 years of property taxes when our community is in desperate need of these resources now. Like other students and workers here in Tempe, I want to make sure that the projects built, especially ones that receive tax subsidies, are enriching our community. It is difficult to do this with the limited information that has been provided. At the very least, a project like this should include affordable housing on site and other more substantial community benefits. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Madam Clerk, next speaker, please.
Next speaker, Anna Martinez.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, good evening, Council. My name is Anna. I'm on item agenda item 7C4.
Hi, Anna. Anna, really quickly, we can't hear you very well. Is there any way you could turn the speaker up a little bit?
Can you hear me better?
A little better. I just want to make sure that people can hear your comments.
Hi, my name is Anna. I've been living here in Tempe for a couple of years now. I work at ASU and for the Sun Devil Dining. And I moved to Tempe to live closer to work, which is great. I don't have to drive anywhere anymore. However, with the high cost of living here in Tempe, I might have to consider moving away from the city once my lease is up. This makes me really sad to see myself and other university employees struggle living paycheck to paycheck, especially when we play such an important role in this community. Why are we planning to give 7 giblets to this development while so many people are struggling to make ends meet. The donation to the Tempe Affordable Housing Coalition is not enough, and affordable housing should be included in the project itself. I would also like residents like myself to be given more time and information to review this project before the city council decides to give away massive tax breaks to another luxury commercial development. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Madam Clerk, next speaker, please.
Next speaker, Austin Marshall.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Marshall. You have 3 minutes to address the council.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. I live in Tempe. I've lived in Tempe for going on about 9 years now. And I've been sitting as a member of the Judicial Advisory Board since 2018. And so I'm speaking to item 7C5, actually. Thank you. I want to take a moment to commend Chief Judge Kane at the City Court for what I think has been a big theme of his time as Chief Judge as accessibility. Accessibility for the public to the City Court itself, especially during COVID and the complications that that's caused. Access for Judicial Advisory Board members and knowing what's going on at the City Court and keeping us always apprised. And now the agenda item 7P5, which I encourage you and ask you all to approve, I think goes to allowing prospective candidates for judge positions access to a process that takes into account diversity and takes into account the value that diversity brings to the city's courts. I don't want to belabor, I already submitted a comment card for when it was up for the first vote. I don't want to belabor the points there, but our courts at all levels function better when they better reflect our communities. The proposed change still maintains merit as the primary criteria for the Judicial Advisory Board in terms of how it evaluates judicial candidates. But it allows us to evaluate candidates holistically, which is critical to making sure that our judges best serve our community's needs. So I wanted to commend Judge Kane, and I encourage you all to vote yes on item C5.
Thank you, Mr. Marshall. Really appreciate it. Madam Clerk, any other cards or speakers?
Mayor, I have just one more card to read into the record.
Okay.
Comes from Merrill Darcy, and it's reference 7C2, the Dwell Project. Merrill writes, every Saturday morning, the neighboring properties are subjected to an obnoxious cloud of dust from the leaf blowers and maintenance of the grounds. Now the developer is asking for entitlement for 129 dwelling residential apartments utilizing the same decomposed granite parking services. Tempe Planning Department had objected to the surface and requested it paved or hardscaped. The developer was successful in satisfying the objection and proceeded to placate the DRC and planning with a very cool apartment project with decomposed granite as permitted. No other project that I know of would allow this service and also violate city code. Again, another example where a developer circumvents the planning department with more delusions and unfulfilled promises. Please insist that this project have the proper approved parking surface with a mitigation of dust control. Mayor, that closes the public comment period for tonight.
Wonderful. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Really appreciate it. All right. Next up here is item number 6, the consent agenda. All items listed on the consent agenda will be considered as a group and will be enacted with one motion by the City Council unless an item is removed for separate consideration. Members of the public may remove public hearing items for separate consideration. Public hearing items are designated by an asterisk. Council members may remove any item for separate consideration or to declare a conflict of interest. If a council member would like to declare a conflict at this time, the city clerk will provide the council member with a disclosure form. The public may submit written comments via the City of Tempe speaker comment card system at tempe.gov/clerk. The consent agenda this evening is marked as miscellaneous items 5A1 through 5A13, awards of bids and contracts items 5B1 through 5B8, and resolutions items 5C1 through 5C5. Any agenda item marked with an asterisk is a public hearing item and can be removed by a member of the public for separate consideration. Is there any member of the public that would like any item here on the consent agenda removed for separate consideration? Madam Clerk, do you have any requests to remove any of these items from the public?
None, Mayor.
Okay. then I will look to the city council to see if there's anything they would like to have removed for separate consideration. All right, hearing none, then the chair would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as read.
So
So
moved.
moved.
Moved by Vice Mayor Keating, seconded by Councilmember Cubey. I will call for a roll call vote. Councilmember Navarro?
Mayor,
Yes.
I'm sorry, just 1 second. I just totally missed it, but 6A4, I'm sorry. Yes, it was 6A4.
Okay.
I just wanted to say something real quick on it.
Anyone? Sounds good. I can have that one pulled. Any other council members? Any other items? All right, real quick. I'm just going to ask Vice Mayor Keating and Councilmember Cubey to rescind their motion and their second.
I mean, I guess.
You're a very generous man, Vice Mayor. All right, so I will do this again then. I'd like to. I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the consent agenda, with the exception of item 6A4, which has been removed for separate consideration.
So moved.
Moved by Vice Mayor Keating. Do I have a second? Seconded by Councilmember Cubey. I will do a roll call vote here. Councilmember Navarro?
Aye.
Councilmember Cubey?
Aye.
Councilmember Garland?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Keating?
Yes.
Councilmember Arredondo Savage?
Aye, Mayor.
Councilmember Adams?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. That item passes 7-0. Next up here, we have the item that Councilmember Navarro pulled, which is item 6A4, which is to approve the transfer of budget appropriation from general fund contingency to engineering and transportation streets fund for the replacement or rehabilitation of the city's entryway signs. Councilmember Navarro.
Mayor, real quick, I just want to say thank you for this and staff and working on it. I know the mayor and council, we looked into this stuff, but once again, this is one of the things I'm proud about, the entryways into our city. This is a great start in what we're trying to do and achieve. When you come into Tempe, it's the look, the appeal. It's all about the things that I, have always been harp on is the landscape, the right of ways, the appearance, and how we look as Tempe. So when people do travel to and through and from and work and play, you're in a great city. You're in a city that looks good, that looks sharp, and we just want to make sure that our appearance is stating that. So I think this is a great item, and I just want to vote in favor of it. And thank you for the time. And this is my vote.
Wonderful. Thank you, Councilmember Navarro. Hearing no other comments, do I have a motion to approve item 6A4?
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember
Second.
Navarro. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Garland. I will go ahead and take a roll call vote here. Councilmember Navarro?
Aye.
Councilmember Cubey?
Aye.
Councilmember Garland?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Keating?
Yes.
Councilmember Arredondo Savage?
Aye, Mayor.
Councilmember Adams?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. Item 6A4 passes 7-0. Next up is item number 7, which is the non-consent agenda. All items listed on the non-consent agenda will be considered separately. Agenda items scheduled for introduction and first public hearing will be heard, but will not be voted upon at this meeting. Agenda items scheduled for second public hearing and final adoption will be voted upon tonight. Council members who may have a conflict of interest may abstain from voting on a matter, and the city clerk will provide the council members with the disclosure form at this time. First section here is miscellaneous items, bids, contracts, and resolutions. The first item under the section is 7A1, which is to approve a one-year contract renewal with Somerset Landscape LLC for landscape maintenance services for streets and right-of-way areas. Council, any comments or discussion? Hearing none, the chair would entertain a motion.
So moved.
Been moved by Vice Mayor Keating, seconded by Councilmember Cubey. I'll take a roll call. Councilmember Navarro? Councilmember Navarro?
Aye.
Councilmember Cubey?
Aye.
Councilmember Garland?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Keating?
Yes.
Councilmember Arredondo Savage?
Aye, Mayor.
Councilmember Adams?
Aye.
I vote aye as well. That item passes 7-0. The next item under the section is 7A2, which is to approve an increase to the contract amount with Empire Southwest LLC for the purchase of 2 skid steer loaders and a utility compactor used to support uncontained garbage, diversion, and alley maintenance operations. Council, any comments or discussion on this item?
Motion to approve.
It's been moved by Councilmember Adams. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Cubie. Roll call vote. Councilmember Navarro.
Aye.
Councilmember Cubie.
Aye.
Councilmember Garland.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Keating.
Yes.
Councilmember Arredondo Savage.
Aye, Mayor.
Councilmember Adams.
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. Item 7A2 passes 7-0. The last item under the section is 7A3, which is to award a construction contract to Lincoln Constructors Incorporated for the pavement preservation FY22 Group 2 project located at various locations around the city. Council, any comments or discussion on this item?
Motion to approve.
Been moved by Councilmember Adams. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Navarro. Roll call vote here. Councilmember Navarro.
Aye.
Councilmember Cubie.
Aye.
Councilmember Garland.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Keating.
Yes.
Councilmember Arredondo Savage.
Aye, Mayor.
Councilmember Adams.
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. Item 7A3 passes 7-0. The next section on the non-consent agenda is ordinances and items for introduction and first hearing. These items will be read and introduced tonight, but no vote will be taken. The second hearing and vote for these items is scheduled for March 3rd, 2022, except for item 7B3, in which the vote will occur on April 28th, 2022, after the second final and public hearing is held on March 3rd, 2022. So we have ordinances items for introduction and first hearing only. The first item under the section is 7B1, which is to introduce and hold the first public hearing to adopt an ordinance for a zoning map amendment from CSS TOD to MU4 TOD and a planned area development overlay to establish development standards, a public hearing to adopt a resolution authorizing a general plan projected land use map amendment from residential to mixed use, and a general plan projected density map amendment from medium to high density to high density, and to approve a development plan review for a new 3 to 5 story mixed use development consisting of 182 dwelling units and commercial uses on 2.86 acres for Haven at Apache, located at 1916 East Apache Boulevard. The applicant is Birch in Cracciolo. I got to say that right. Cracciolo. I'll get that right eventually. PA. I'm sure they will probably. So I've got. Is the applicant Brennan Ray? Would they like to make a statement and also make sure that I know how to pronounce that last name?
Mayor, good evening. Brennan Ray with Birch and Cracciolo here tonight. It's okay. Mr. Cracciolo would not be offended at the mispronunciation of his name at all. But nevertheless, thank you very much for allowing us to present tonight. I do have a brief presentation. I know we've been here a long time, and I know you have additional items following us, but the development, and I'll share my screen now. Bear with me 1 minute. Are you able to, hopefully that's filling up your screen more than it is, at least what I think it is.
It's sort of in the top right-hand corner, taking up kind of 1/4 of the screen, but I can see it. There we go. There we go. Perfect.
Perfect. Well, thank you again. And again, I'll be brief, but Brennan Ray, 1850 North Central. So excited to talk to you tonight about a development along Apache Boulevard on behalf of Geffen Development Partners. They are the proposal of a developer of a very small, challenging infill redevelopment site. And just briefly, Geffen is a national developer that's headquartered in Texas. They develop Class A multi-family communities throughout the country. On this particular one, we've worked closely with planning staff and other departments on this request. We've worked with CVAC on it as well, and we appreciate the feedback that we've received as we've gone through this process. As you know, we will be making a contribution to the Hometown for All initiative. But as we start to get in it, it's a request that's supported by the general plan. It's consistent with and conforms to the Apache Character Area Plan.
We're very appreciative of the thoroughness of staff's report and their support for our development. Appreciate the DRC's strong recommendation for approval, and we'll request your approval at the appropriate time. Focusing on the site, it's outlined there in black. It's between McClintock and the 101 along Apache Boulevard. It's approximately 2.86 acres. You can kind of see it's a unique site and with its shape and depth. For those that are familiar, it's the site of Tolliver's Flooring. And there's a variety of different uses to our west, north, and east. And as you know, before you tonight, there are multiple requests. The first is to amend the land use map on approximately 0.71 acres from residential to mixed use. Another request is to amend the projected density map on 1.16 acres from medium high density to high density. And then additionally, we have a rezoning request taking it from CSS TOD to MU4 TOD together with a planned area development and development plan review. Important, we know, to the area is the Apache character area plan. As we started this process, we took a hard look at it, especially as we were designing this site. And as is detailed in staff's report, we believe that there are a number of elements that we're meeting as we look at this, including shade, a combination of structural and organic where appropriate, streetscape treatments, and the pedestrian scale along Apache Boulevard. Certainly transitioning in height as we move from south along Apache Boulevard to the north, where there's a residential neighborhood, and there's a whole bunch of other items that are detailed in staff's report. Just touching briefly on the neighborhood outreach. Again, I can go into more detail as you would like, but in addition to the neighborhood meeting, we met with Matt Salinger and Phil Amorosi with CVAC. We had a good discussion where we received some good feedback on the colors and materials. We listened to them, and their input is reflected in the plans that are before you tonight. And here's kind of a slide to give you a brief overview and a perspective of what this building will look like. And you can see there some of the details on the right. Again, I can go into as much detail as you would like tonight, or if there's things that I need to be prepared as we move on to next month, happy to do that. This is a perspective, again, of what it would view probably in the sunset hours. Again, you can see the use of the shade, the use of different materials, colors, forms architecturally. And this is the view at the street level. And you can again see all of the great things that we're doing. Again, appreciative of the feedback we've received from staff along the way and CVAC. Mayor, members of council, there is a lot more information that I could go into if you wanted me to, but wanting to keep it brief, I'll just leave it at that and see if there's any questions, any homework we need to do between now and when we come back before you next month.
Sounds good, Mr. Ray. Thank you so much. Really appreciate the presentation. Let me go to Councilmember Arredondo Savage.
Right. Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate the opportunity. Mr. Ray, thank you so much for the presentation. You know what? I read through this. I looked at it. I thought, man, this is really going to be great. There's not anything that I have big concerns about. The one thing, though, I would like to get some more information about is, I mean, this is technically supposed to be a mixed use project. And I know that you're utilizing the fitness center as part of being designated as mixed use. So I was hoping that you don't have to do it tonight. If you could get me some information before the next hearing, just kind of in regards to what that looks like. Can the community use it? What will it cost? What will the hours be? Because that's kind of a unique and something a little bit different out of the realm that I think we've done before for mixed use. So I just really want to ensure that it meets at least my expectations of mixed use. If you have the time to do that, that would be really helpful for me. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Arredondo Savage. Councilmember Cubie.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I'd ask, this is right along the light rail. And so we think of this area as transit-oriented development. So there's a lot of amenities and housing and transportation and food access, we would hope, along the light rail and transportation-oriented development. You always want to have a mixture of housing as well. So is this all market rate, I'm assuming, since you haven't mentioned workforce, you haven't mentioned affordable? And you are asking for increased height, right? And well, maybe not height, but you're asking for increased density. So what are you offering in terms of affordability, given that you're having these entitlements that you're requesting?
Yeah, through the mayor, Councilmember Kuby, happy to do some additional homework and get back to you on that. But in terms of answering your question, yes, this is a market rate development, and I can go into more details if you'd like. As I mentioned at the beginning, I know that the Hometown for All initiative has been very successful, and we plan to contribute to that to ensure that that success continues.
And what kind of contribution are you discussing?
Through the mayor, Councilmember Kuby, I don't have the exact details and numbers at this time, but we'll be happy to provide that to you when we get together next month.
And what are the rents for 523 square feet to the 1,100 square feet? What are the rents?
Through the mayor, Councilmember Kuby, our rents, we believe, are going to range in today's dollars between roughly $1,300 up to $2,000 for those 2-bedroom units.
Okay. Did you fill out a affordable housing impact statement, the AHIS? And can you present that? If not tonight, then next read?
Councilmember Kuby, I'm 99% sure that we would have filled that form out and submitted it. I don't have it here in front of me, but we're happy to discuss that at next month's hearing.
You see, I mean, later on, we're going to be deliberating on South Pier, and that's, very expensive property that, some could argue that it's not the place where you could build affordable housing, but you could sell the land and use those proceeds and use contributions to build housing elsewhere. But if along the light rail isn't a place where we can build affordable housing or mixed housing, affordable mixed luxury rent, I mean, no, luxury is not technically a class, but if we can't do mixed housing along the light rail, where can we do it, And so it's kind of late in the process, and I would hope that community development staff has talked to you about this issue and our housing staff, but it just seems to me that a TOD project should be reflecting the context of that neighborhood, and that neighborhood is in need and has examples of affordable housing and workforce housing. So that's what I would like to see in the project. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Councilmember Kuby. Any other council members, any comments or questions for Mr. Ray? Okay. Hearing none. Thank you, Mr. Ray. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Mayor.
Let me ask really quickly, Madam Clerk, did we receive any comments from the public on this item?
Mayor, the cutoff time was 4 p.m. and I did not receive any additional comments for this item.
Okay, sounds good. I'll just go ahead and close the public hearing then. Council, if there's no other comments or discussions, want to reiterate that the second and final public hearing of this item is scheduled for March 3rd, 2022. The next item under the section is 7B2, which is to introduce and hold the first public hearing to receive public comment on and adopt a resolution authorizing the annual Community Development Block Grant Home Program and Emergency Solutions Grant Action Plan for fiscal year 2022-2023. Would staff like to give a brief overview of this? Okay, hearing none. Let me go to see if there were any comments received from the public. Madam Clerk.
No additional input for this item, Mayor.
Okay, sounds good.
Excuse me, Mayor Woods. This
Yes.
is Naomi. Staff would like to make a comment. Sorry.
Okay, sounds good.
Sorry, Mayor. This is Levon Lamey, one of the Deputy Human Services Directors for Housing Services. Sorry, we couldn't get the unmute button clicked quick enough the first go around. But we did want to do a small refresher on this agenda item for any members of the public who may not have been in attendance during the work study session reviewing the items. This is for the annual action plan and funding, proposed funding allocations for the Community Development Block Grant, Home Partnership, and Emergency Solutions Grant Program. We are putting forward the initial funding activity proposals and soliciting community input and feedback on the uses of those funds that would be consistent with our 5-year consolidated plan and our needs assessment. So the CDBG activity proposal would continue to support public service activities, the emergency repair program, acquisition of permanently affordable rental housing, and our workforce development programming. The home program would have the funding that would be utilized towards the tenant-based rental assistance program to continue that 2-year 24-month program with a self-sufficiency component. This program does provide us rental housing subsidy for eligible participants with heavy workforce involvement and engagement, workforce development, so that at the end of the 24-month period, they are self-sufficient. With the Emergency Solutions Grant, that program and those funds can only be used to address homeless services. So of course, all of those funds would be utilized to address homeless needs. And I will stop there in case there are any questions, or if anyone needed more information on that overall of this project and program.
Great. Thank you so much, Levon. Appreciate it. Any members of council have any questions or comments for Levon?
I do, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Councilmember Cubie.
Thank you. And I had some substantial discussions with Naomi and Levon, and really appreciate that, really digging deep into the CDBG funds. And I think it's important that our residents, watching or not watching, know that with the emergency repair fund, that you can actually apply for funding to have a tree cut down that you have to have cut down, maybe because of code, maybe because the tree's dead, for whatever reason. And that can be a substantial expense for our families. And so there are funds available in the city of Tempe to pay for that. It's income limited. You have to show need, but I think it's important to know that. And I guess we've gone through our wait list, and so we're spending these funds at a good clip. Sometimes the funds, though, we want to get out to where people are that don't know about the funds that are available, right? Because sometimes people are very good at getting the information, and other times people may not know. So I really appreciate Human Services staff going out to people where they are and getting the information about what's available to them in terms of rental assistance and emergency repair. Thanks so much. I appreciate all of the thought that's gone behind this plan.
Great. Thank you, Councilmember Cubie. Any other council members like to comment or ask any questions? All right. Hearing none. Let's see, Madam Clerk, were there any comments received from the public or requests to speak?
No.
Okay, I think that was a no. So I'll just reiterate that the second and final public hearing on this item is scheduled for March 3rd, 2022. The next item under this section is 7B3, which is to introduce and hold the first public hearing to receive public comment on and adopt a resolution authorizing the annual action plan for the one-time funding associated with the home program received through the American Rescue Plan Act for fiscal year 2022-2023. Would staff like to give a brief overview?
Good evening, Mayor. Yes, again, Levon Lamy, one of the Deputy Human Services Directors specifically assigned to housing. Just as a refresher for folks who are in the audience for the work study discussion and informational for anyone who this is new for. The Home ARP program is funding that was allocated as part of the entitlement through the American Rescue Plan Act. This is one-time funding. We are putting our action plan together on how we would utilize this funding. Tempe's entitlement for this would be approximately $2,269,939, and we are soliciting input from the community and, of course, from Mayor and Council on what these funds, these one-time funds, could be utilized for. We will be coming back at a future meeting with the recommendations for the utilization of these funds in the program to be executed. And if anyone has any questions or needed any additional information, we're available for questions.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Levon. Any other Let me ask really quickly here to the clerk, did we receive any comments from the public on this item or any requests to speak?
No additional input for this item, Mayor.
Thank you very much. I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing portion. Council members, any comments or questions for Levon? Councilmember Cubie?
Just a comment, oftentimes we think of government as being dysfunctional. So I just want to thank Congress and thank Joe Biden for the American Rescue Plan funds. They've been really sort of life-changing and priority shifting for our council. And I'm so appreciative of Congress and passing these funds and Joe Biden for initiating it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Cubie. Any other council members? Any further comments or questions? All right, hearing none, just want to reiterate the second and final public hearing on this item is scheduled for March 3rd, 2022, and the vote is scheduled for April 28th, 2022. The last item under the section is 7B4, which is to introduce and hold the first public hearing to adopt an ordinance authorizing the transfer of real property located at 250 West Rio Salado Parkway to 250 Rio Owner LLC and authorizing the mayor or his designee to execute all associated agreements, addenda, conveyances, and other related documents. Manja Lavaz is the legal representative for this item. I'll just ask if she would like to make a statement this evening.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. For your record, Manja Lavaz, law firm of Gamage and Burnham. I have a presentation. I do not need to make a presentation. This is just a simple land exchange, but I'm happy to make a brief presentation if you'd like to see it.
Thank you, Ms. Vaz. Council, does anyone wish to see a presentation on this? Councilmember Cubie.
I think it's important, even if it's a brief presentation for transparency.
Of course.
It'll be a long night, so I apologize to my colleagues, but I think it's important.
I got my caffeine right here. I'm good.
Okay. Yeah, I think Jason or somebody has a presentation. Hopefully.
I do not have a presentation for
You
this
have one on
particular
250 Rio?
item.
That I gave to Kara?
Hi, Modula. I was not aware of a presentation for this item. I thought you only wanted to speak. So I can give you privileges if you have the presentation to show on your screen.
That will take a little bit.
What about just a verbal? What about a verbal?
Okay, yeah, that's verbal. That's fine.
I'll take verbal.
Okay, thanks, Lauren. Thanks, Councilman Cubie. I appreciate it. So, as you may remember, in the Penny Saver site, and I think for all of us may remember with the Penny Saver site at Rio and Ash, and you may remember, and certainly the people in the audience, that what looks like the Tempe parking lot that's right next to the Art Center and just north of the Penny Saver site, actually the southern half of that Penny Saver site was actually owned by America West, as you may remember. So you had a private or company that owned what everybody thought was a public parking lot. And then the city owns a little portion of the sliver adjacent to the ball field where the old Ash Avenue Bridge abutment is coming along. And as we're going to come forward in the future, as part of the Penny Saver or the 250 Rio project and the land exchange that this council had actually approved the plat. But what we are doing is we're exchanging the city sliver, which is the old Ash Avenue abutment, for the larger triangle, which will then complete the city parking lot. That will go to the city. So the current parking lot that's at the park, that's next to the Veterans Memorial, kind of adjacent to the Tempe Art Center, will now become all city property. And then what will happen as the 250 Rio project comes before you, you will see, and we've been to the Historic Preservation Commission last summer, is we're going to bring back and kind of bring back the old Ash Avenue abutment into its old historic preservation kind of look, and show you, and we'll come show you that we're going to kind of reimagine the bridge abutment. So we will be bringing some portion of historic Tempe back to life, and then also in exchange and giving the city back the property so that they have a permanent public parking lot for the public. So that's the land exchange that's happening. I think it's of value for the city, and we look forward to coming and talking to you about the project, I think in the next couple of months. Happy to answer any questions.
Sounds good. Thank you, Ms. Vaz. Any comments or questions from
Mr.
council?
Mayor, I have my hand raised. I just want to say that
Oh,
I'm
yes, you
supportive
do,
of-
Councilmember Adams. My apologies.
Oh, I finally found out how to raise it. So, big progress. Anyway, yeah, so I'm supportive of moving forward with this project. I like it. It makes sense to me. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. I should ask really quickly to the clerk here, were there any comments received from the public regarding this item or any requests to speak?
The request for item.
Okay, great. I'll close the public hearing. Council, any further comments or discussion or questions for Ms. Vaz? All right, hearing none, the second and final public hearing on this item is scheduled for March 3rd, 2022.
Thank you.
Thank you. The last item under this section is to introduce and hold the first public hearing to adopt an ordinance amending Chapter 20, Noise of the Tempe City Code, removing all references of decibel and decibel measurement. Council received a briefing on this matter during tonight's executive session, but staff is available to answer any questions. Were there any comments, Madam Clerk, received from any member of the public regarding this item or any requests to speak?
None for this item, Mayor.
Thank you so much. I'll close the public hearing. Council, any comments or discussion? Yes, Councilmember Cubie.
I hate to be Johnny one note, but in the interests of, people that are tuning in, perhaps staff could step up and explain why they think this ordinance should be passed.
Okay, I will look to Jeff Tamiulevich to come up and give a short answer Councilmember Cubie's question.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Kuby, the code text amendment that's in front of you removes all references of decibels and decibel measurement from Chapter 20 of the City Code. Both code compliance and the police department, the two enforcement arms of the city for noise issues, are both in favor of this modification of the code. The prosecutor's office directed city officials to not enforce codes referencing decibels. And this is due to the difficulty of proving decibel measurements in court. It should be noted that codes referencing decibels have not been used for the enforcement of noise for approximately 10 years. But the city does continue to enforce noise issues on a regular basis through other sections of this code, such as 20-8 and 20-11, both of which do not reference decibels. So I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you so much, Jeff. Really appreciate it. Council, any further comments or questions for Jeff? Councilmember Adams, I think is that a hand from before, I believe, the previous item?
Yes, it is.
I just want to make sure I wasn't ignoring you, so.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
You got it.
Appreciate
Right. All right, well, hearing no other comments from council, just want to once again reiterate the second and final public hearing on this item is scheduled for March 3rd, 2022. All right, so next up here, we have item C, ordinances and items for second hearing and final adoption. These items were introduced and read on January 13th, 2022, and votes on these items will be taken tonight. The first item under the section is 7C1, which is to hold the second and final public hearing to adopt an ordinance for a zoning map amendment from R2 multifamily to R3R multifamily residential restricted and a development plan review to add a new one-story multifamily development consisting of 4 dwelling units to an existing development for 4th Street Apartments located at 1235 West 4th Street. The applicant is Palmer Architects. Would the applicant like to make a statement?
Yes, we would. Jerry Palmer, architect, are you able to speak?
Sounds good.
Okay, I got the unmute off. This is Jerry Palmer with Palmer Architects. I'm the applicant for the 4th Street 4 apartment addition. The project is an existing single-story 3-unit duplex with 6 units in it, and we're proposing to add 4 more single-story, 2-bedroom, 2-bath units of 950 square feet in the center of the project. We're rezoning the property from R2 to R3R per the 2040 plan, general plan, in conformance. And we have a use permit to allow 4 additional tandem parking spaces that are off the back alley to provide sufficient parking. And all our parking is off the back alley, so there is no parking coming into the units off of any of the streets. The new units will provide articulation with a variety of elements, including decorative walls, fenced private patios, and colors and textures that complement the existing 6 single-story apartments. There are no large building masses on this residential scale project. New units are single-story and match character, scale, and color of the existing units. We've created private patios off of each of the units, and this allows the residents to have some enjoyment. The site will have extensive landscaping consisting of trees, shrubs, and ground cover for city's requirement. And we believe the project will have a positive impact on the surrounding neighborhood and may be consistent with other new and older projects in this area. The owner is with us tonight as well, Michael Tyke, and I think he would like to address you briefly. Mike, are you there?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Council. So what we're looking at right now, we're going to just have Jason go through this presentation. We'll make it short and sweet. What you're looking at here is the proposed zoning and current zoning. So we're at R2 now. We want to go to R3R and increase the density from 10 dwelling units per acre to 15. Next slide. Next slide. So this is a site plan. We've got 3 duplexes on the outside of the property, and you can see on the inside we're requesting the addition of 2 duplexes. They're all mirror images of each other and provide private backyards for the residents. Next slide. And this is the showing the tandem parking that we're requesting for the use permit for the tandem parking in order to accommodate the parking zoning. And you can see the numbers 5, 7, 6, 8. 5 and 7 will be the same apartment, and 6 and 8 will be the same apartment. So one apartment will have both tandem spaces in one row. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. And this is the, I'm sorry, Jason, if you could go back one slide. Just want to show the decorative walls down in the bottom left corner. Again, we spent a lot of time and design trying to match the existing architecture and the neighborhood with which it sits. So next slide. This is the elevations from the north, south, east, and west showing the buildings. Next slide. This is a floor plan of one of the duplexes. It's a 2-bedroom, 2-bath. As Jerry said, around 950 square feet with a private patio on the back. Next slide. That's the east building, same thing, just mirror images. Next slide. This is existing building floor plan. They're all 2-bedroom units. So again, we're building to match with the existing property apartments that exist there now. Next slide. This is just the landscape plan, and we're going to have a lot of trees, plants, and gravel in order to dress up the area and match it to the existing properties around it. Next slide. This just names the plants and landscape. Next slide. Material board, again, colors were chosen for light reflection value, and also to match the existing properties in the area. Next slide. Here's color elevations with landscape, north, south, from the street and from the alley. Next slide. And these are other angles coming into the building from different, from the front and back, just showing what a person would see when they're walking up to the property. So next slide. Anybody have any questions?
Great. Thank you so much for the presentation.
You're welcome.
Let me, before I go to the council, let me just ask the clerk here, do we get any comments from the public regarding this item or any requests to speak?
Nothing.
Okay. I will close the public hearing. Council members, any comments or discussion? Yes, Councilmember Cubic.
Yeah, so is there a voluntary contribution to the Hometown for All? I didn't see that mentioned.
No, I do not know about that. We can follow up and let you know, but no, tonight's the first time I've heard about that, so we can follow up with you though after we research it.
I'd really appreciate that, and I would hope that our community development would make developers coming into business in the city just aware of the program. So maybe that's a little highlight that we should include.
All right.
You know, Mr. Mayor, you'd like to make sure that all are aware of this opportunity.
Yes, absolutely. Any other comments or questions from council? All right. Hearing none, the chair would entertain a motion on item 7C1.
Isn't this a first read?
Nope, this is a second hearing. We're taking a final vote tonight.
How can we take a vote if we don't know if there's going to be? I thought we're not going to know about the Hometown for All contribution. So
No, I'm just saying I'll entertain a motion for whatever council members want to put up a motion.
Mayor, I'll make a motion, but we had a first read on this, correct?
Correct.
So we had an opportunity last meeting to ask these questions, correct?
Yes, the first hearing was on January 13th.
Motion to approve.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilmember
Second,
Navarro,
Mayor.
seconded by Councilmember Arredondo Savage. Any further comments or questions?
yeah, I do. I mean, Councilmember Navarro, you know, I sense that you don't appreciate me bringing this up, but you know, questions occur at different times, and we're going to have discussion about Hometown for All. We always have discussion. It seems logical, and then you know we discover that they didn't even know about the program, so it does seem like it's fitting to ask that. And what we're talking about is it's a 10% of permitting fees, Mayor Woods, for
Mayor.
Really quickly, Councilmember, I'll go to you. Just, you know, talking about the plan, it's a voluntary plan, and the contribution rate for multifamily residential was sort of set at 20%, and for commercial it was 10%. But once again, it's a voluntary plan, not mandatory. Councilmember Navarro.
Yeah, what makes me uncomfortable is I feel like this voluntary plan is being put in front in contingency if we approve this or not. I'm having real difficulty with this, especially at the second read. So I would like to go with my motion.
Okay. All right. So it's been moved. It's been moved by Councilmember Navarro and seconded by Councilmember Arredondo Savage. Do I have any further comments on this item?
Well, one option is to just, because you know I've never met with this developer. One option is to just do a continuance, and March 3rd is the next available meeting. We could just continue that discussion because, as the developer mentioned, they hadn't even heard about this program, so they haven't had an opportunity to participate.
Okay, I believe that, so there's a motion on the floor, but let me just really quickly turn to either our clerk or Ms. Blaine, our city attorney. Does a continuance motion override a motion on the floor, or is the first motion that's made the one that we are considering?
Thank you, Mayor Woods. Sonia Blaine. You must resolve that first motion before you can move on to
consideration of a second motion. You can resolve that motion in a number of ways, meaning take a vote on it. The movant can withdraw it.
Okay, so the motion thank you very much. I appreciate that. So the motion was, that was made first was the one by Councilmember Navarro and seconded by Councilmember Arredondo Savage. So we'll need to have a vote on that. If that vote fails for whatever reason, we can go back and then entertain the continuance motion, or that's being suggested by Councilmember Cubey.
Yes, Mayor.
Okay.
But Mr. Mayor, Sonia did say that Joel could elect to withdraw it just to consider the other motion. And I would ask you, Councilmember Navarro, to consider that, since the developer said he didn't know anything about the program, so he had inadequate information. And so if you're so willing, Councilmember Navarro, to entertain that motion to just continue for 3 weeks.
Yeah, I understand that, but I'm not comfortable with that because, as we know, throughout the whole process we've been on council, we've had the first and second reads. We've known out through the whole process of council about affordable housing and how much of this is an issue. I know that there's a heated issue later on tonight, and we have to make a stand on every item that comes across that has to do with housing. In my opinion, you had opportunity last week to ask these questions, which was the opportunity you should have taken. And in my opinion, we should have taken that opportunity. I'm going with my motion. I know that this is a good program. I'm going to be talking more about this on our next agenda item, or the couple of agenda items down the road, but I'm not going to remove my motion.
Okay. Thank you, Councilmember Navarro. With that, I'm going to go ahead and take a roll call vote with the motion that's currently on the table for the approval of item 7C1.
Mayor, I have my hand up.
Oh, yes, Councilmember Arredondo Savage. I'm sorry.
I was trying to play accordingly by the rules, Mayor.
Please go for it.
Yeah, no, I just want to follow up with what Councilmember Navarro said too. I will be supporting this agenda item tonight. And, you know, it's really kind of unfortunate that this applicant didn't really know about that opportunity. And I do hope that our community development team has an opportunity to reach out to them and share some of the great work that can come from any type of contribution. And then maybe that will be something that they would be willing to participate in, which would be great. But that certainly wouldn't make or break my vote tonight. And I just hope that there is direction given that they have that conversation in the near future. Thank you, Mayor.
Sounds good. Thank you, Councilmember Arredondo Savage. Councilmember Garland, I see your hand up as well.
Yeah, I'm just curious if somebody from our development department can confirm that information may not have been shared. I mean, I'm still in support, or will be in support of moving this motion forward, but I would like to know if somebody can say if that information was not shared with this person, and then I would like to know if they would be willing to entertain just getting that information and reviewing it and being a part of this incredible community that we have in the Hometown for All initiative. Thanks, Mayor. Thank
you, Councilmember Garland. All right, really quickly here, because I still have a standing motion on the floor here that I need to get a vote on. Councilmember Garland, were you looking for that information from staff now or at a later date?
If it's possible to get that, I guess I don't need to have it tonight. I can get that information later, but I guess it just is another really good thing that Councilmember Cubey brought up, that we need to be making sure that we are really working hard to get that information out in advance to these developers. So thank you.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. All right, I don't see any additional hands here, so I'm going to go ahead and take a roll call on this vote here. With the motion was made for approval by Councilmember Navarro and a second by Councilmember Arredondo Savage. I'm going to go down the list here. Councilmember Navarro?
Aye.
Councilmember Cubey?
Nay.
Councilmember Garland?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Keating?
Yes.
Councilmember Arredondo Savage?
Aye, Mayor.
Councilmember Adams?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. That item passes 6-1 with Councilmember Cubey voting no. The next item under the section is 7C2, which is to hold the second and final public hearing to adopt a resolution for a general plan land use map amendment from residential to mixed use and a general plan density map amendment from medium to high density to high density, adopt an ordinance for a zoning map amendment from R3 to MU4 and an amended planned area development overlay and a development plan review to add a new 3- and 4-story multifamily development consisting of 129 units of residential to an existing commercial development for Dwell, located at 430 South Farmer Avenue. The applicant is Sender Associates Chartered. This item, actually, I want to also note, is going to require 2 separate votes. Would the applicant like to make a statement on this item? I believe that would be Ms. Sender. Actually, Ms. Senator, before you start, just one quick thing I wanted to also note, I forgot to note earlier. The resolution authorizing the general plan amendments requires at least a 2/3 city council vote, which is 5 out of 7 council members for approval. Just wanted to make sure to tell that for the public watching at home and for the council. So, Ms. Senator, if you're ready. And we can't hear you. I see you're talking, but we don't hear any sound. In the interim, while we actually try to get the sound fixed, can I do one quick thing if Levon Lamey is available?
I'll unmute yours.
Oh, there you are. Yep, I can hear you now. Senator, I was going to ask Levon a quick question if you don't mind.
Sure.
Levon, are you there?
Good evening, Mayor. Yes, sir, I am here.
Great. Oh, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Question for you, just on the, because there's been a lot of discussion this evening on other projects about affordable and workforce housing, and I'm just curious, from your perspective, with this project, is this going to count towards our workforce housing stock? Because in the studies that we've done in the past, we've recognized that we have plenty of housing stock in the market rate category, and we actually have quite a bit even in the affordable category. But the one area where we kind of have a really big deficit, frankly, is that workforce category. And so I know this project has been proposed as 129 units of workforce housing. And I just wanted to ask you, as a sort of resident expert on affordable housing who vets all of these projects, would this project count towards our affordable housing goals, or workforce housing goals, I should say? And Levon, you are muted.
There we go.
There you go.
So, Mr. Mayor, based on the information that we've received from the developer on this project, yes, the rents for the studios all the way up to, including the urban studios up to the 1-bedrooms with a patio, do fall into the workforce rents categories for those AMI ranges. Moving into, they do tend to hit somewhere in the 96 to 100, the 96% AMI up to 114% AMI for a 2-person household in a 1-bedroom. Moving forward, as you get into growth with some of our projections for next year's numbers, these would still fall well within the workforce AMI rent ranges for what we would recommend as the maximum rents.
Okay. Thank you. No, Levon, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
All right, Ms. Sender, I will go back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you very much. I wasn't really planning on making too much of a presentation this evening. We went through the entire project at the last hearing, so let me know if you want to hear anything in particular. But I'd like to make a brief presentation from the developer, and just kind of go through his thoughts and rationale for this workforce housing project. So Steve Betts, I'm going to have him speak at this point.
Thank you, Darren, and thank you, Mayor and Council. And again, if you want us to go back to the zoning maps and the general plan maps, we can go back to those. We did that a month ago and spend time, but I think maybe what you wanted to hear about most is the philosophy for this project and really what we did in trying to generate this project for you. I think we talked a little bit last time about sort of my passion for this project, this missing middle piece. And Mayor, you spoke to it already, the workforce housing missing middle, the fact that there are a lot of really quality developers out there now doing affordable housing with federal, state subsidies and with local. So you all are working with a lot of your local subsidies with GIPLETs and things like that. And then there's just a plethora of people that are doing super high-end apartments that are like luxury hotels. And but we've got this problem with this missing middle piece with the 80 to 120, the folks that frankly make, you know, $50,000 to $75,000, really good quality jobs with benefits, but they can't afford those apartments that are being delivered today at that high-end range. And there's nothing wrong. I mean, they're great apartments. They're wonderful. They're beautiful. They have very, very high-end finishes and extremely high-end amenities. But we're pricing people out of that market. And so what my mission has been, what my passion has been, is to determine whether we can deliver in an urban environment. And this is the key to it. Can we, in a downtown area, find sites and deliver a product that is at that missing middle, that 80 to 120 AMI, but a really cool product, an interesting product. And in the process of designing this product, it's workforce housing by design, designing it to actually be deliverable at that price point. We also had the pandemic come, and we started doing a lot of research about the kind of workforce that is going to need this kind of housing. And so many of them, most of them, are going to be working at home, full-time or part-time, into the foreseeable future. And so we've called this now Dwell, a work-at-home community, because the units are designed around working at home and the amenities are designed around working in the complex. So the units all have built-in workspaces. And so even the studios and one-bedrooms all have workspaces designed into them. But for somebody that has a spouse where the two of them work and they need to have some quiet space because they both have jobs and somebody wants to watch their special program on several of the units, a number of the units have a very tiny office that somebody can go into and work. And so, but these are all studios and one bedrooms. They're smallish kind of units, so they aren't particularly large. The finishes are nice, but not over the top like a lot of the super high-end apartments. And the amenities, oh, I love the dog, by the way, Councilwoman. I'm very partial to dogs. And the amenities are built around people that want to work in the apartment complex. And so the amenities are Zoom rooms and meeting rooms and casual collision spaces, and where people can work in the complex and still get out of their unit. Yes, we have a dog park, thank Councilwoman, and yes, we have a fitness center. We have the essential things that you need for an apartment complex. But the amenities are downtown Tempe, and the amenities are the things that people want to be able to get out of the complex and enjoy downtown Tempe. So that is the project we're delivering, but we had to design this with the help of John Kane and his office here. We had to design working backwards into a price point where we could deliver these at this without asking for incentives from the city, without asking for a GIPLET or any other kind of need for city incentives. And so it really fits into your hometown for all kind of concept that you're talking about, but without having to ask for other people to donate, to give to us, to give to our project. And so that's the concept, that's the project we're delivering to you hopefully tonight for a final vote. And I'd like to maybe pitch this over to John just for a moment, because we did hear in the public comment section at the beginning, there was some comment about the surface that we're putting down on, that we're trying to be very environmentally sensitive to heat island effect. And so we didn't want to have all this be sort of asphalt, a sea of asphalt. And so we're using special materials. And so I do want to have John comment on that just for a minute.
Good evening. Yeah, just regarding the gravel paved system. Again, the original idea was about reducing heat island and giving the trees a chance to grow and really flourish. What we have been learning, though, is that as vehicles turn on the surface, it crushes the rock, and we have trying to figure out how to do that. In the new design, we're adding concrete in the drive aisles to minimize that. So only the parking spaces and just a small gap between the concrete have the gravel. So we still maintain the opportunity where the trees are, but also reduce that wearing down of the rock. We're going to be replacing all the rock with a new rock and actually a harder rock that will work to it, but still achieve the same effect. But yeah, it's an important issue. I'm glad it was brought up, but we are taking that into account in the new design. Thank you.
And thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. If you have any questions, we'd be happy to answer them, and we would like to reserve any rebuttal time if necessary.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilmember Adams.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Well, let me just do this really quickly, actually. If you, with my withdrawing for a second, I just got to make sure I take the public comment first.
Oh,
So
I apologize.
Nope, no worries, no worries. Let me just ask really quickly, Madam Clerk, were there any comments received from the public regarding this item or any requests from the public wishing to address the council? I'm assuming that was none. I'm sorry, you're breaking up. I'm going to take that as none. Sorry, Madam Clerk, your sound is really breaking up. But let me go ahead and then I will close the public hearing. And Councilmember Adams, I will go back to you.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you. I would like to make a motion to approve this wonderful project.
Okay, sounds good. This first vote, just wanted to note for everyone, is on the general plan land use map amendment and the general plan density map amendment, which is what Councilmember Adams is making the motion for. And I just once again want to remind everyone that this will take a 2/3 majority vote, which is 5 out of 7 for approval. So there's been a motion on the floor from Councilmember Adams. Do I have a second?
So moved, but we'll have time for discussion, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. So it's been seconded by Councilmember Cubie. Now time for discussion. Councilmember Cubie, I'll go to you.
Well, thanks. I really appreciate the discussion about permeable paving. I know that ASU is leading the way in researching permeable pavement materials, and it's not as easy or as simple or as inexpensive as you might think, but it is so important to reducing the urban heat island, so important for our shade canopy. So I really appreciate you innovating in this space and adapting as you see it. I'm adding the concrete lines. So I appreciate that. And I also had a discussion today with Darren, and I appreciate what you're saying, that because this project isn't so amenitized, it doesn't have all the pool and the pool deck and all those amenities that people look for sort of in market rate housing, that's what's going to be the external pressure that will keep the housing workforce. And generally, when we do have a covenant and a deed, restricted deed, it's when we have a giblet or some kind of financial incentive in place. So I will be supporting the project, and I really appreciate the live, work, and play aspect of this project and this development. I think it's going to be a good thing for our city and helps with that missing middle housing that we so desperately need. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Cubie. Councilmember Navarro.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor.
That's okay.
Go for it. I'll come back to Councilmember Adams.
Okay. No, thank you, Mayor. No, I think Councilmember Cubie said, the architectural, the paving on it, how it integrates with not only just the feel of the complex, but also with just the fact of, the absorption of rainwater and be able to keep things a little bit more greener in the area. I think they've done a great job on the design, which has been tremendous, especially within that area. The setbacks have been great. The number one thing is it's hitting that point where we're all as council members, workforce housing, hitting the affordable housing, so we're starting to knock these down. This is just another one of these projects that we're getting there. And the beauty about this thing is it's driven by a private developer making these things happen. And as you saw that Mr. Betts said about, the market is there for affordability. I mean, we're hearing it out there in the community. We need more affordability. And as we see it throughout our nation, everywhere you go, that's the one thing that we're trying to conquer. And we're trying to work with federal governments to help support that and make things a little less red tape for those things to happen. Until we get there, it's great to see, just a private entity stepping on into Tempe and doing it well, not just doing it to where it looks cheap, but it looks great. And the fact they're doing it in the downtown area is just a beautiful thing. So I really appreciate what they're doing over here, and big kudos out to them.
Thank you, Councilmember Navarro. Councilmember Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, Councilmember QB and Navarro covered a lot of what I wanted to say, but I just wanted to thank Steve for your vision in doing this project. And it's so wonderful that people that work in downtown Tempe will have a place to just walk to work and have affordable housing, workforce housing there. Our police officers and our firefighters can live there. It just is a really good project and something that we need more of in the city. And I will definitely, obviously I made the motion, but really supportive of this project, super excited about it. And I know it doesn't have a pool, but eventually Clark Park Pool will be built, and it'll just be an orbit bus ride away. So it really speaks to just what we need. So thank you so much for your vision on this project, and keep them coming.
Thank you, Councilmember Adams. Just one quick comment from me, and I actually made this comment about a different project at the previous council meeting, but just one of the things, and I think Councilmember Navarro really touched on it quite a bit. What I really appreciate is the fact that when we're talking about, once again, affordable and workforce housing, you're talking about still using very high-end finishes in the building and having it designed by a world-class architectural firm like Architecton. And that's obviously very big to me, because the stigma that we hear a lot of times when we hear about affordable housing, and a lot of sort of the concerns that people have sometimes about it is, it's I don't want those people living next to me, and what I don't want that's, and the reality is those people, there's no such thing as those people. We're all part of this community, and frankly, the diversity of this community is what makes this such a great city. And so quite honestly, the fact that you're building these to make sure that it truly fits in with the aesthetic of the entire downtown and the Farmer Arts District. And if you drive down the street, no one would be able to drive by that building and say, oh, well, that's affordable housing right there compared to the other building that's market rate or luxury. They would just look at it and say, that's a nice looking building that I would want to live in myself. And that's the thing that to me that's really important. It's not just simply building 129 workforce units in the heart of the downtown, but it's also doing things to continue to remove that very ugly negative stigma surrounding affordable and workforce housing. So I really appreciate all the work that you've done. I agree with Councilmember Adams. Keep projects like this coming, and I will definitely be supporting this tonight. All right, any other comments from council?
I got one, Mayor.
Yes, Councilmember Arredondo Savage.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you guys coming back. Thank you guys so very much. I think I voiced my concerns at the first reading, and but also to my appreciation for, I think, what you are bringing forth in regards to something new and different. The fact that it looks great, it's got a lot of really good aspects, and the aesthetics are really great. So I think the design, I have no issues with the design. I think it's really fabulous. I know that the concept in regards to lowering those amenities is going to reduce, what people are willing to pay, right? And just remind me, has this been done anywhere else? Is this somewhere? Is this kind of new? This is a new venture, right?
Right. This is really a test. If I can make this work, as the mayor said, keep it coming. I would really like to do a dozen of these, but yeah, this is my prototype.
Right. Well, and I love the fact that you want to be innovative and do it here in the city of Tempe, because I really think there's no better place to do that. And I think for any of you that have actually taken the time to look at some of our goals, which of course housing has always been one of our goals, and one of the ones that we are trying to improve our ratio on is workforce housing. So that is kind of one of the areas that we know that we need to have more inventory. So the thought that this could happen, to me, is one of the things that's really appealing. The one thing that worries me a little bit is there's no guarantee that it will stay workforce housing. And I know we know that, I am believing in you and your ability to be able to really fill the gap of something that is really needed in the downtown area and in Tempe in general. So workforce housing for me is something that's definitely really important, really needed. One of the things that also concerned me too is, I talked about this before, about this being the buffer zone. And that, we had always talked about the density, and everybody keeps talking about the height. And I get it. The height's not the issue. It's the density. It's the number of people that are in this development. And the fact that we have reduced parking, which I completely understand. I just want to make sure we're being very cognizant and fair to the surrounding neighbors. So, I may shock you here when I say this to you, but I am going to be supporting your project tonight. I love the idea of trying something new and innovative. You don't know if it's going to work unless you give it a shot. So I am going to be supporting your project tonight, and really just kind of to see how it works and how it flows, and to see if it does stay workforce affordable for the years to come, and if the neighbors continue to stay happy. And if we don't hear from them, then that's exactly what we're wanting, right? I mean, we want a neighborhood that is really happy with right next door to them. And I will say this, Mayor, I think at some point we need to really talk about that buffer zone and what that looks like from that urban core and how it trickles down. And I understand that, things change and opportunities come up. And so I'm going to count on you. And hopefully, I feel really confident this is going to be a great project and it's going to come to fruition the way that you expect it to. And I'm looking forward to a great partnership for many years to come. So thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Arredondo Savage. Greatly appreciate it. All right. So there's a motion on the floor from Councilmember Adams, which was seconded by Councilmember Cubie. Are there any further comments on this first vote? All right, hearing none, I'm going to go ahead and take a roll call vote here. Councilmember Navarro.
Aye.
Councilmember Cubie.
Aye.
Councilmember Garland.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Keating.
Yes.
Councilmember Arredondo Savage.
Aye, Mayor.
Councilmember Adams.
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. That first vote passes 7-0. The second vote is on the zoning map amendment, amended planned area development overlay, and the development plan review. Do I have a motion on the ordinance for a zoning map amendment in addition to the amended planned area development overlay and the development plan review?
I make a motion to approve.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilmember Adams and seconded, I think, by Vice Mayor Keating. I'm going to go ahead and see, are there any further comments or questions? Hearing none, I'll take a roll call vote. Councilmember Navarro.
Aye.
Councilmember Cubie.
Aye.
Councilmember Garland.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Keating.
Yes.
Councilmember Arredondo Savage.
Aye, Mayor.
Councilmember Adams.
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. That item passes 7-0. Thank you so much, Darren, Steve, John. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. The next item under the section is 7C3, which is to hold the second and final public hearing to adopt an ordinance authorizing the execution of a purchase agreement for the acquisition of portions of Belle Butte located at the southeast intersection of Interstate 10 and Broadway Road in Tempe, and authorizing the mayor or his designee to execute the related documents. Were there any comments received from the public regarding this item or any requests to speak to the city council?
Input.
I think that's no input. I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing. Council, any comments or discussion?
Move to approve.
Hey, it's been moved by Councilmember Garland. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Arredondo Savage. Roll call vote. Councilmember Navarro.
Aye.
Councilmember Cubie.
Aye.
Councilmember Garland.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Keating.
Yes.
Councilmember Arredondo Savage.
Aye, Mayor.
Councilmember Adams.
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. That item passes 7-0. The next item under this section is to hold the second and final public hearing to adopt an ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute a development and disposition agreement with South Pier Tempe Holdings LLC, an Arizona limited liability company, for the project located at 1131 East Vista del Lago Drive, Tempe. Would staff like to make a statement?
Yes, Mayor, this is Donna Kennedy. Good evening, Council
evening.
and members of the public. Donna Kennedy, Economic Development Director here along with Maria Lochner, Program Manager, to review the details of the South Pier G-Plat. Along with Economic Development, the City Attorney, Sonia Blaine, have collaborated with our client, Lauren Cohen, and his team for over 3 years to ensure compliance with the Arizona State statute regarding the gift clause, meaning the incentive can't exceed the public benefit. Many concerns mentioned by the public have been addressed and will be reviewed by Maria in the presentation. I want to state that negotiations are confidential manner due to legal implications. Development agreements have 2 public hearings to take input for decision-making. Modular Voss will be back for the entitlement process, which has public involvement. In addition, staff must adhere to the RFP guidelines to avoid legal challenges. The RFP did not require affordable housing as it predated the Hometown for All strategy. To put this in perspective, Mayor, existing development along the lake all have been incentivized due to the complicated land improvement costs. Without incentives, we would not have the revenues to support our city programs such as Hometown for All and lake operations as we know it today. Over $2 billion in capital investments have been made to develop along the lake. This led to the creation of thousands of jobs brought to Tempe, supporting our sustainable economic growth. The vision of Tempe Town Lake has become a tourist attraction as the second most visited destination in Arizona. South Pier will add to the success of the many proposed amenities, including a public-supported Ferris wheel with a mixed-use concept. This project will not only meet the goals of an employment corridor for Tempe Town Lake, but also for the Rio Reimagined initiative initiated by the late Senator John McCain. The senator was fascinated how Tempe turned the river bottom into an iconic revenue-generating landmark for the Tempe programs. It's my statement, Mayor. Maria has a presentation if you desire to see the G-Plat incentives for this project, and then we can follow up with any questions after the presentation.
Sounds good. I think given the public comment made earlier, the council's interest, I think we would definitely like to see that.
All right. Thank you, Mayor. Jason, do you mind bringing up the presentation, please? Thank you, Jason. So good evening, Mayor and council members. Staff is excited to bring forth this awaited project that will complete the city's development of the Lakeside project along Rio Salado. Next. The 12.5 acres comprised of both city and private lots that make up South Pier Tempe has been long in the making. The site has seen various development proposals throughout the last 3 decades, but none has come to fruition. There are many reasons for this, as Donna has mentioned, but primary among these are that the site is blighted and currently undevelopable, and any development that occurs there will be expensive. The site has to pay all the lake assessments, which the city is currently covering. Also, remediation is necessary given the outdated and dilapidated infrastructure that exists on the site and the debris that litters the area. In fact, the Rio Reimagined project that Donna mentioned, through which the city participates on an EPA-driven brownfields coalition, has identified this area as a brownfield that is eligible for federal cleanup funds to remove the blight. That is just another reason why the site has remained undeveloped and previous RFPs have failed. But we decided as a city to try again, and with council's authorization, staff issued an RFP in June of 2019, seeking a developer that could assemble 2 private lots with the city's 5 lots in order to create a master planned mixed-use development that would bring public amenities, high-density residential, and an overall unique and urban experience. We had 1 developer submit a proposal, and that was South Pier Tempe Holdings. Next slide, please. Their proposal includes 2,300 apartments and 160 condos to accommodate 3,500 residents.
Maria, really quickly, sorry, there was nothing on that slide as you were talking the number. Yep, there's nothing
there.
there.
That's weird. Oh. Jason, can you go to the next slide maybe? Maybe he's retooling it.
Or
I
maybe,
apologize,
There,
everyone.
for some
Can you
reason,
pull up
the
our slide,
presentation is
Maria?
not, the presentation is not displaying properly on my computer. It's giving me an error message on the presentation itself. If you have it on your end, maybe you could run it, but for some reason, it's there, there's not enough data, it says on the
Weird. Okay,
presentation.
I'd be happy to
It's
do
not
that.
working, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I can, Carla or Kara, can I bring it up? Is that okay with you?
It's made you presenter. You should be able to bring it up.
Okay.
There we go.
Okay,
Very
perfect.
good.
There we go.
Thanks, everyone. So the project will include the 600,000 square feet of Class A office as well as medical office space, 2,300 for rent apartments, and 164 sale condos, with the vision of having 3,500 residents, 111,000 square feet of destination retail, as well as 520 hotel rooms to help the tourism along the lake. Additionally, there will be numerous public amenities such as the Central Green and the plaza areas. All right, so what staff has negotiated with the developer is that the developer will pay the market rate of the land. And that market rate was appraised by a third-party appraiser to be $74.02 per square foot. That means that as the developer is building their improvements, they will be they will be purchasing the land, and the city will be receiving $36.5 million once all 5 lots have been effectively sold. Those proceeds are currently poised to go into the general fund. At present, there are numerous financial implications. So currently, as you can see, the way the property sits now, there are 0 revenues to the city. So the city doesn't pay any property taxes, and there's no TPT gained from any activity on those sites. However, there are significant costs to the city. Since the city is responsible for the assessments on the lake, we pay an annual amount, and at the end of the time period for which the CFD assessment and the ID 180 are payable, the city will be responsible for $7 million, unless we're able to find someone else to purchase the land and take over those assessments. Any developer that develops along the lake has to cover these assessments. So in this case, South Pier would take on these assessments, and then the future cost to the city for those same lake fees, the O&M, would be 0.
Maria, really quickly, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Can
Sure.
you explain, since there's a number of acronyms on the screen, TPT, CFD, can you explain what those are, for people who are, watching from home?
Thank you. I'm very sorry. I should have put that in here. TPT is the transaction privilege tax. That's the sales tax that gets that goods and services are charged, and that gets paid to the Department of Revenue and then filtered down to the city of Tempe. So that goes to the state, the county, and the city.
So that would be basically if there was, like, let's say, some kind of a retail component or some shops on the site, we would then get transaction privilege tax. But since there's nothing on the site and it's currently completely undevelopable in its current state, that's why we're not getting any TPT.
That's exactly right. And then, Mayor, it's not just on goods and services. I actually misspoke. It also includes lease rates. So all of the rental properties, hotels pay a bed tax. That's considered part of the TPT. Restaurants, of course. So all those other taxes that are considered sales tax, those also would be paid from the site and go into the city. And as you mentioned, currently there's no development there, so there is no TPT being generated at all.
Okay, sounds good. And next up, I guess, just the CFD and the ID 180.
So the CFD is a community facilities district, and that is for the lake improvement. That's for the operations and maintenance. The ID 180 is for the lake improvements that were made that the city invested in some time ago. So properties that this is a bond that's been outstanding for a long time, and the way it is set up is that if there is no development on the land, the owner of the land has to pay 10% on an annual basis until the development occurs. Once the development occurs and a certificate of occupancy is issued, then the rate of payment increases to an amount that has been set by the accounting team that is covering this. So that's where these costs come from. And at present, since the city is the landowner, we are paying these assessments.
And just one last question about this slide. So the 7.1 million there, that's the total there with the CFD and the ID 180. That's our total obligation. That's not annual, right? That's our total obligation.
Correct. That's our total going forward. So this is not, this doesn't take into consideration anything that we've already paid. It's a total going forward until it gets paid off.
Okay, so we still owe another, 7.11, on that. Okay. And we're not
Yes.
generating any revenue with, property
Correct.
taxes, transaction privilege, nothing. Okay, sounds good.
Correct. And I'm sorry, just to confirm that the revenues that are listed there are on an annual basis. So those are the property taxes that are estimated to be generated. And the TPT is also on an annual basis.
Okay. And quick thing too, the property taxes as an example, that money, once that would come back onto the tax rolls in year 9, there would be a large percentage of that would go to our school districts, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. But as you can see, it's currently not generating any revenue. So that this situation of 0 property taxes would continue for those 8 years of abatement. And then on the 9th year, the revenues would begin. However, the TPT would begin, of course, immediately.
So basically just, and I'll stop after this. So the GIPLET, when we're talking about a GIPLET right now, one of the concerns that gets raised regularly is that GIPLETs cause, and I should say, government property lease excise tax. The issue is that you're taking taxable property off of the rolls and therefore shorting the school district's revenue that they need to survive. But if we look at this right now, the school districts here in this situation, the GIPLET isn't shorting them any money because the property currently isn't making them any money anyway. It's not making the school districts money, and it's not providing any revenue to the city either.
Correct.
Okay.
And I would like to add in a future slide, what we have started as a practice in the city of Tempe is when we do have a GIPLET leases in effect, the developer who signs that lease with us donates money to the school systems to help offset any monies that were that were anticipated would be going to the schools.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, to that point that you made, but there is always obviously the opportunity cost issue. Yes, there's no money being earned from the dirt, but a different project without a GIPLET could bring money in. So, I mean, we want to be nuanced here to explain that opportunity cost is something that should be thought about.
Sure. I guess though my rebuttal though would be that there have been several failed RFPs on this project before. And so if we finally have someone who's actually able to perform, I don't want another failed RFP. I want to finally get a project and complete the vision of the south portion of the lake.
True, but you always have to talk about opportunity costs when you're looking at a project, given project. But
sure.
To your point, I just wanted to introduce it a little
No,
more.
I appreciate that.
So just to talk a little bit about what the public benefits are, as Donna had mentioned, we work closely with our legal team to determine that the public benefits that are going to be generated by the project for the city are commensurate to the incentives that are going to be received by the developer. And in this case, what we have negotiated with the developer is that they will be providing cash contributions that total just under $14.7 million. And how that is separated up is to be $10 million going to housing. And then there's actually around $2.7 million going to the transit fund, and then an additional $2 million also going to transit. But that $2 billion is dedicated toward the construction of the pedestrian bridge on the eastern side of the lake. In addition to that, South Pier will be putting in public amenities that are valued at $12 million. And those public amenities include the pier that is the first phase of the pedestrian bridge that takes the experience of people going to the lake out into the lake so they can be like on the water, as well as all of the landscaping you see here in the green areas and the open spaces and the public plazas. Again, none of that exists today. And by putting this in, they will be inviting people from the community to stroll on the multi-use path, to cross the bridge, to enjoy the pier, and just have a different experience of that part of the lake. Finally, the final part of their the public benefits that have been guaranteed is the contribution to the schools, as I mentioned, which is $250,000. So the total direct benefits are just under $27 million. And the total cost of the GIPLET to the city of Tempe is $25,900,000.
Quick thing too, Councilmember QB, I see your hand. Did you have a comment or question on this?
No, Mr. Mayor, I'll take my hand down after I ask a question. Sorry.
Okay, no, sounds good. Thanks.
So actually, I was wondering if you had any questions. I have, that's our next slide. Obviously, Donna is still here. Manjula Vaz is on the line if anyone has questions for her. And Levon Lamy has also joined us to be able to speak to the value of the in lieu payments that the developer has committed to for this project.
Okay, sounds good. Can you go back to the previous slide just very quickly?
Yes.
Okay. The one thing that that I want to talk about here, because this is really important to me, because I understand the concern that there's always a concern when it looks like a corporation or a large company is getting a tax break from a city when there are a lot of needs: homelessness, affordable housing, transportation, economic development, and a whole host of things. But every GIPLET is not equal. They're not all the same. And quite honestly, I can understand the concern about a project like this. If someone said, well, we're basing this just sort of on sort of projections of how much property tax we think we might generate down the road or things of that nature, and that's why we're going to give a GIPLET that's valued at over $25 million. And we'll just sort of get it back based on the number of jobs that are created, or the amount of commerce that's happening on the site. And sometimes I can understand someone saying, well, but Corey, how do you know that that's actually going to happen? You're not confident that you're going to get all of those things. People may not shop at the site. They may not eat at the site. Maybe they don't hire the same amount of people as they think they're going to hire. But in this situation, the difference from my perspective is we're talking about total direct benefits to the city. And when you're talking about, $12 million for a pedestrian bridge which has actually been the subject of public comment for quite a few years here in the city of Tempe. And our residents have frankly talked about wanting that pedestrian bridge. And the $12 million is estimated to cover the entire cost of the bridge, not a part of it, not 3/4, but all. And that is a true public amenity for a lake that is the second most visited tourist attraction in the state, second only to the Grand Canyon. The second thing, when you talk about the affordable housing contribution of $10 million to the Coalition for Affordable Housing, the reality from my perspective is we have taught the Hometown for All proposal, and I just feel the need to say this because I know I've said it, in previous meetings, but I want to say it again. The point of the Hometown for All program was to generate 11,000 additional units of affordable and workforce housing in our community by the year 2040. Because that was based on a study that we actually took before I even became mayor that talked about what the need was for in that area. And we're all, as a council, very committed to getting that done. I know all of us to a person are. But the issue is here, from my perspective, every time we wanted to get out of this system and change the paradigm from trying to go and beg developers to frankly solve our affordable housing issues. In Arizona, there are things that just simply are not legal. I have one of my best friends from college is the CEO of an affordable housing company in Massachusetts, where they have tax increment financing, where that 49 out of 50 states have. Guess which is the one state that doesn't have it? Us. And trust me, if I was governor or if I was in charge of the legislature, that would change very quickly. We don't have rent control. I am a renter personally. And I'm worried that when my lease comes up in August, that my rent could go up 20 or 30%. I'm hoping that that's not the case, but I'm very much in that situation. But unfortunately, the state legislature saw fit back in 2016 to ban the practice of rent control. And then inclusionary zoning, which is the practice of saying, we will grant you an up zone on your project, but you have to do a set aside of, let's say, 20% of the units for the purpose of doing affordable housing, which is illegal in a lot of states like Massachusetts, New York, California. It's illegal here. And it's extremely frustrating to me. And trust me, if I was in charge and I ruled the world, or I was governor, or I was the Senate Majority Leader, that would change very quickly. Because I think those are the policies that have been enacted by the state that are preventing cities like Tempe from actually reaching our affordable housing goals that our people desperately need. Everyone at every socioeconomic level that make this city really run. But the fact is, if what we do is continue to talk to developers and say, let's try to find a way to get them to just create a certain percentage of the units to make those affordable, we all know how that's worked out. It's a frustrating process for all cities that are frankly on the front lines trying to get more affordable and workforce housing in their communities, and it's failed. It hasn't worked. And so if we continue to go to that same strategy and go back to that well over and over and over again, we're going to have the same frustrating results. More apartments and places built that are not affordable, that are not in the workforce category, and more people getting priced out of our community that have to move because they can't find a place to live. And this council is committed, frankly, to changing that, which is why I'm so proud to be part of this group. And the program that we started raised $6 million in actual cash and pledges in the first year alone, when we thought at the high end it might only get to 4 million. But we exceeded that by more than 50%. That's how successful it's been. And it's gotten us out of the habit of having to go and beg developers when all of these state rules and laws and preemptions keep us from doing the things that this council frankly wants to do. We have found a way to generate real sums of money to go out there and frankly support our affordable housing goals. We are remediating 5 city-owned lots on Apache Boulevard to the tune of $1.2 million to do environmental remediation and taking fundamental responsibility for those sites. So when an affordable housing developer comes along, they are getting clean dirt to produce an affordable housing development that meets the area median income that we need to reach to really attack this goal. But on December 29th of this past year, spent $10.6 million buying the Old Food City site on Apache Boulevard, a 2.7 acre property where we estimate we can bring a grocery store now back, an affordable grocery store, back to a neighborhood that's now living in a food desert. Other retail options on the ground floor, and probably upwards of 300 affordable units on that site. That's a lot more than we typically can negotiate trying to really push a private sector developer. We can actually do that when we own the land, we put out the request for proposals, and we dictate the terms. And we say, if you don't want to build affordable housing here with a 30-year covenant, you need not apply, because you are not going to even get a phone call back from the city or from this council. That is the way to get out of that paradigm. That is the way to produce the number of affordable units we need to make sure that this is still the diverse, inclusive community I moved to 19 years ago and want it, frankly, to remain for the remainder of my time here. But the reason I'm so passionate about this is because I do not want us to go back to the old paradigm of saying we have to try to force a developer to put affordable housing units into that. We don't have the legal footing to do that, and it doesn't work. It would work if we had inclusionary zoning. We would I know the people on this council, we would absolutely do that. But quite honestly, with the law firmly against us at the state, which I firmly, wholeheartedly disagree with, we cannot continue to go down a path that has failed consistently. We have to try something different. This council tried something new and innovative, and it has worked, and it's continuing to work. And we're going to meet our goals. And I'm proud of this council, frankly, for doing that. So the reality is, I hear what everyone's saying, and I want to go back and say, I actually I'm in that position. I'm a renter. I understand the concern, and frankly, I want us to hit those affordable housing goals. I ran in 2008 and as mayor in 2020 on a platform of affordable housing, even when people told me it wasn't popular and I should talk about something else. We are going to meet that goal, but we have a path forward and a way to do that. And I want to stay on that path and that trajectory, because that is the way to deliver the housing that our residents both need and deserve. And when I see a project like this, where the value of the actual public benefits, $2.5 million for public transportation, $10 million for affordable housing, $12 million for a pedestrian bridge, $250,000 to the school districts, and $2 million for landscaping that's way above our own landscaping code. that's actual tangible public benefit, not rosy projections, but actual tangible public benefits that you can bank on. And these folks don't even get the GIPLET until the city of Tempe issues a certificate of occupancy. If they don't build, if they don't perform, they get nothing in tax abatement from the city. So so from my perspective, that is the difference between this deal and other deals. And the reality is all GIPLETs are not created equal. And I think it's very important that we make that distinction and we stay on a sustainable path to really get the housing that we really need to make sure that everyone can continue to live and work and play in the city.
Mayor?
Yes, Councilmember Cubie.
I have a couple questions for Maria and for Donna, and it's about the phasing, because I know it's not like if this instantly happens, it's going to take some time. So I'm wondering, the $10 million that wouldn't come at once. That would come after buildings were complete and building permits. I mean, when would that come? And then also the purchase price, would that be something that we would receive, more immediately, or is that also phased in? I don't really understand when those monies would come in.
Thank you, Councilmember Cubie. I'm happy to answer that question for you. So let's look at the purchase price first. The purchase price is also phased, and it is dependent upon the certificate of occupancy and the improvement being completed. So once an improvement, the first improvement is completed on one of the city lots, we will receive the payment of the market value for that lot. So it's based on the lot. We're selling the lots as they exist today. So again, there are 5 lots that are for the city. So it'd be based on that. And we would receive the money in a lump sum. We would get the entire proceeds from the sale of that lot upon the improvement being completed.
So just to clarify, with the building completed, when you say improvement, do you mean the infrastructure improvement? And do you mean literally the building is done, it's occupied, people are in it?
The building is done. It may not be occupied, but the building is completed and they have received a certificate of occupancy.
And the same thing applies to the money contributed to Hometown for All? It's the same timing?
Do you mean the in lieu cash payment for the housing affiliate?
The 10 million to Hometown for All? That would that be phasing as well with certificate of occupancy?
Yes, it is the public benefit for the GIPLET. So it is phased in over the term of the GIPLET per lot. So each lot that gets a certificate of occupancy, that's when it goes on a GIPLET lease, and that's when the money for the direct payment to housing starts to be felt. So we'll start receiving it then as each GIPLET occurs.
So when in actual real timing, do you think this is, I mean, I know sometimes projects get approved and they take a while, but are we talking, first phasing a year, 2 years, 3 years? What are we talking about?
The first phase is supposed to come out of the ground by the end of next year and be completed by the end of 2023. Mm-hmm. But there are numerous phases. So we're expecting 15 years to complete this. So it's hard to say when everything is going to be exactly completed, but in your packets, in the development agreement, there's a very lengthy schedule of performance that we will be holding the developer to. Did I answer your question?
Yes, you did. You did. Thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you, Councilmember Cubie. Anyone else from council? Any other comments?
Mayor, can I make a motion?
Sorry.
Oh, sorry, Councilmember Cubie, go ahead.
I didn't realize I was asking questions, but I realized we were also giving comments now. Could I continue?
Sure. Absolutely. Go ahead.
I do have to say, and Councilmember Navarro, I don't know if you'll be upset with me saying this, but I want to apologize to the residents because we did not have a presentation or discussion in January on the South Pier project. It was a really long night, if you all recall, and we just neglected to ask for a full presentation. And because it's development agreement, council has that opportunity in each session to talk about some of these issues. And yesterday we got a really complete memo. It was a confidential memo. So again, it wasn't something that could be shared with the public, and it was helpful, much more helpful than maybe the memo and that we have in the packet and explaining all the public benefits. But I do think we owe it to our residents to better share information considering this is 1.8 billion. This is a sale of, $35.5 million worth of city land. And, had there been a presentation last month, we probably would have had a lot of feedback from residents because generally our residents are not very supportive of the giblet process. And I don't really blame them. It's a tool that's designed to incentivize development in difficult areas. And we've seen, there is remediation issues to be handled. I realize that, but it's also when we developed the giblet ideas along the lake, there was not much development going on. Now there's, a lot of interest along the lake. So, we're getting this 8-year giblet, and the developers are going to be contributing $10 million to Hometown for All. And that's going to help directly to fund affordable housing and the $2 million for transportation, the money for education, the pedestrian bridge, like all of these things are very good. And they're very appealing, but because of the size and scope, I really do think we should continue the discussion just until March 3rd, so we can fairly call this the first read, because it truly is the first read, and it is such an important project for the city. There are so many good things about it. So if we're so proud of this, we should be proactive, I believe, in explaining it to people. And, I would even call for, more a dedicated event for public outreach so we can provide all the details to the public. They're hearing it tonight, but we're also voting on it tonight, right? So the first time they've heard it is the night we're going to vote on it. And I think it's important that they understand the different financial scenarios that are before us, and that it come back for a final discussion on on March 3rd. And so I guess I would like to make a motion that we could continue the vote till March 3rd. And then I'd also, like to have a comment on, let's just see. I just want to make a motion to continue this till March 3rd.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilmember Adams.
Yeah, I'll second that motion based on the feedback that we've received about people not understanding or having enough information on the project. And I'll leave it at that. I won't leave it at that. I think this is a great project. I think it's amazing, and what they're contributing to Hometown for All and the pedestrian bridge and all of that. I think it's a great project. I'm supportive of the project. I just am concerned about our community not feeling like they had enough impact and input into this process. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Adams. So there's a motion on the table from Councilmember QB and a second by Councilmember Adams for a continuance to the next regular council meeting date. Now we've got time for discussion. Councilmember Garland.
Hi, I had my hand up before the motion was made, so I have a couple questions that aren't specifically related to that motion, but I'll get to those in a minute. This might be for Maria or for Donna. For the opportunity for the public to give input, it's typically not done on a development agreement. Is that true when we do that? And when is the time that they are going to be able to have the public comment? Is it when the zoning information comes, and that will give our residents the opportunity to review, to look at this information, and then to give comment?
I can take that, Mayor, Councilmember Garland. This is Donna Kennedy, Economic Development Director. Out of all the development agreements we do, we typically do not do presentations. We have the RIFCA with all the information for the first hearing and the second hearing. So the information is available to the public, and that's generally too, even after the first hearing. If someone has a question, they can contact me. The information's out there. So, and as I stated earlier, the RFP and how we verbalized it in our RIFCA was not part of this project. So maybe because they didn't read it in the RFQ, they thought we just didn't include it. But it was 3 years ago, like I mentioned, that we started this RFP. So even if there was a continuance, we couldn't legally, unless we go back and reevaluate this, and it might take more than March. But typically the public hearings are to hear, and I really thank the members of the community that came out and expressed their opinions. Something that we all are confirming that we do understand where they're coming from. But in this scenario with this RFP and moving forward, the public hearing is today is the second one. So we
But
can
to
go
that
again
point-
and I can discuss what's in the agreement at another date if council chooses. But the first hearing and the second hearing were to get and solicit comments as we did. So you've got those comments to make your decision tonight, but if you still need more information, we're happy to provide it.
Okay,
But
so
to
my,
that
so my
point,
question
Mr.
would be
Mayor-
then.
Hold on, Councilmember Garland still has the floor.
Oh, I'm so sorry. So the public will still have, our residents will still be able to have the opportunity to have comments, to review this information as we move forward when it comes to us for zoning and things like that, right? I just want to make sure that the public knows, that our residents know that they still have an opportunity for us to make decisions and make comments regarding this issue.
Regarding the zoning and the development issues, yes, there's Manjula Voss will bring that case forward, give a full presentation of what the project is, what it's going to look like, what they're going to include. And so that'll be, she may want to have some input on what she's going to present at that time as well.
Okay, then I had another question. So the remediation, that's part of what the developer is taking care of, that they're paying for that, the remediation that's going to be needed to take care of that property so that they can start building, right? That's
correct.
That's on them. Okay. And do you know about what the value or what the cost of that is? I know that we're doing it on some of our properties, Mayor Woods just mentioned.
Right, and we've done it at the IDEA campus, Councilmember Garland. It varies on the remediation. This is old infrastructure. They're going to do the soil testings. I believe Manjula may have some preliminary results from that. But it is an added expense. For example, even just around the corner at Rio 2100, it was $20 million for their remediation. So it is quite expensive. It's an expense the city doesn't have to go out and remediate. Great, we're very fortunate that Levon has funds to do it for some of his projects, but it would add up for all of these projects.
Okay, and then I have just one last question. Just, it didn't get mentioned tonight by our residents, but it was mentioned at our last meeting. They talked about the Ferris wheel and about the Ferris wheel being in the way of the rowing races and the activities at the lake. Can you just address that?
They have an engineering team that has been working with the city staff and preliminary and over the past couple of years have determined the appropriate location for it, so it would not interfere with city recreation on the lake.
Okay, I just want to make sure we got that in because she had asked that the last one and we didn't get that answered. So I appreciate it. Thank you, Donna.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Garland. I see Councilmember Navarro.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. No, real short, and to be honest with you, Mayor, you said it very well in your speech. I think you hit every bullet point that was on my mind. Councilmember Garland, those are great questions. You know, we still have opportunity for input and to be able to talk to our community. But at the end of the day, through my tenure of being on council in 2008, Mayor, you too, we've seen this. I mean, right? We've seen projects come in, come out. We've seen projects start to get in full steam. We have one right now. To be honest with you, I think, well, it sounds like the project that's been proposed might outbuild the one that's being built right now. But at the end of the day, we have identified in numerous meetings, numerous public meetings, what this area was to look like, what this area was going to enhance, what a giblet was for this area, where the giblet was. I've had numerous coffee talks on these issues and on this lake, on this area in the past. I've had professors from, or Dr. Stapps from ASU come in and give a presentation on real estate on this area. Exactly. And that gave opportunities for residents that have had concerns today to this issue to come to those discussions. And so it's not, I know this is a new deal, but it's not like this is something new. We knew what we were going to do. We knew what the council was prepared to give to get something for this area. We knew that this is really a place that we want to identify as a gateway to Tempe also. When you fly over, when you drive over, to totally understand about the affordability aspect, what we're doing in our community, but we're getting money. I mean, I can't believe, Mayor, what you just said, 6 million, we're hoping for 4 million, and we're going to outgain that even more so. But the ability, and we've said this, and I've said this multiple times, we're never going to get to the affordability that we want in perpetuity unless we control it, unless we run it. And we're on our way of doing that. This city has done so much in affordability compared to cities around our area and around our region. I think that we by far are trying to balance our affordability, but we can't balance the affordability for Chandler, Scottsdale, Phoenix, everybody. We have to do it conservatively and appropriately. And to be honest with you, we're outgaining those other cities in that regard in terms of affordability, how we're going about it, how we're doing it. So I think we're a template for a lot of communities to look at on how we're doing it, how we're addressing affordability. But we obviously know that on the sides of the lakes, up and down, we know that we have the opportunity to really gain a whole bunch of interaction with just retail, with just the property tax, with just all these things. And yes, there's an 8-year giblet on these things. But as we speak right now, and Mary, you said it so well, it's been doing nothing since we've got on. It's been doing nothing since I've been here in Tempe. It's been a parking lot, and that's 54 years. So we're seeing the fruits of past council members, our council, doing things to improve this area. And these are the things that, and here we are having the opportunity to really, gain from all the fruits of the labor of everybody else. So I think this is a great opportunity for us. It's a beautiful place. We're going to increase visitors coming into our area. That helps us increase our money within the city. All these things are going to have benefits. So I think this is a great project. And we'll go forward on passing. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Navarro. We still have a motion on the table in a second. Are there any more comments, or am I going to take a vote on the motion?
Mayor, I have a comment.
Yes, please, Councilmember Arredondo Savage.
I know you don't like it when I raise my hand.
I love when you raise your hand in any way.
I just want to say just a couple of things, because honestly, Mayor, I think what you said and what Councilmember Navarro said is exactly kind of where my brain is and what I've been thinking. I mean, the reality of it is, for me, I've been on this council for 11 years, and this has been something that's been on the radar, not only for myself and my council members throughout that 11 years, but those that were here before us, like Councilmember Navarro said. And to be this close and at a point where we can actually see some ground turning, to me, is really exciting. I want to just say thank you to Donna and her team, community development, for Levon, for all the work that you guys are doing, the 3 years of work that has really gone into trying to find a good partner that wants to walk alongside us to create the vision that we had at Tempe Town Lake. And this is exactly that quality type of project that we want, a quality type of project that helps us leverage some of our goals and objectives in other areas in the city. And I know what I heard tonight from the individuals that came up and spoke was their concerns about affordable housing and affordable housing. Well, I will say this, we have not lost sight in any means of continuing to increase our housing inventory and our different types of housing stock in the city of Tempe. I think we've had that discussion a little bit earlier. We continue to have that discussion. So when we sent the RFP out for this particular development, we intentionally did not incorporate affordable housing. We, the council, agreed on this RFP the way it is. So we never intended to put affordable housing here. However, we have a great opportunity and the ability to leverage $10 million to be able to create the type of affordable housing that we want, that we can control, and that we can secure for years to come, which to me, like the mayor mentioned earlier, is actually advantageous to our community. So I've looked at this from a lot of different perspectives. I want people to really understand that there are so many issues that touch people in this community. And what I heard tonight was about affordable housing. And I will say this, that we have come so far with what we're doing in affordable housing. I would hope that people would take a minute to really understand that when we make decisions, we don't take those lightly. We take them really strategically. We use data. We try to be as smart as we possibly can. We have an outstanding strategic priorities that are there. We have performance measures, and one that actually addresses our housing inventory ratio. So that is always at the top of our mind whenever we do any developments. And when we can get a great quality project like this that not only gives us money to allocate to address one of our highest priorities of housing, and also incorporates a cool pedestrian bridge, money to our school districts, and really just turns a blighted piece of land into something that everybody can really enjoy and be proud of. So I'm super excited about this project. I think that we need to move forward. I don't understand why we would want to postpone this. So I'm not going to be supporting the postponement, and I'm hoping that we'll have the ability to vote on this tonight. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Arredondo Savage. Any other comments, Councilmember Cubie?
Yeah, and I just wanted to make it clear to Councilmember Garland, before when I was trying to speak, it was that parliamentary procedure to that point, because Donna had said something, I wanted to address it then and there. So I hope it didn't appear that I was interrupting, because I wanted to address the point that she made that about public engagement, that we've had a first hearing, we've had a second hearing, but that it was precisely my point, that we kind of riffed on it last session in January. We did not have the same presentation we had tonight. It's the first time we've had that presentation, or the public has seen it. And so my point was that we didn't have that presentation. And hey, I blame myself too. I wasn't on top of it that night. I believe we should have had that first read, the presentation we got tonight back in the first read, and we didn't. That is why I'm calling for a continuance to March 3rd. And then I would, if it fails, I'd like to talk about some aspects of the proposal, because I have suggestions. I have a suggestion that I wanted to make, but I really do want to have us vote on just this continuous, just till March 3rd. This is a $1.8 billion project, and I think we err on more community engagement, not less.
I'll just make one quick comment, and then we can definitely go to the vote here. I understand the comments or the concerns about transparency. It's definitely something I've heard a lot in the last few days by a number of people who've raised that issue. But two things. I mean, one, I think the city is one of the most transparent places that you could ever possibly have. We have more opportunities for public meetings, public comment than most other cities that I know of. I routinely hear it from people who actually do attend meetings in other cities. They talk about the amount of debate that goes on with this council at meetings such as this one, where we're still going strong at 9:20 p.m., where we have tons of public meetings. I know the developer here had public meetings for the purpose of this project, and there were people who showed up. It wasn't a lot of people, but they were absolutely advertised publicly, and there was an opportunity to attend. As we talked about earlier this evening, when we do presentations, whatever, I always read when the next meeting is actually going to take place and when the vote's going to actually go down. It's always incorporated into every script that I read to ensure that people know exactly when the next vote is going to be taken. And from my perspective, I think that, this city does an exceptional job, even when it comes to, the open government, feature that we have, that Councilmember Cubie was responsible for, from a National League of Cities meeting, going back and bringing that back and saying, hey, this is a way we can actually post data and things that we do on a portal, so residents can go directly to that portal and see what we're doing. I think about the Public Safety Advisory Task Force and the work that we've done there, and the ability to show people our community safety plan, and for them to be able to go to a project checklist on the web and be able to see exactly where we are from a percentage standpoint with each issue that was raised over the course of all of those meetings. Those are just a couple of examples, though, of the transparency and the data that the city shows every single day. And most of us as council members, I know all of us as council members, go to public meetings and neighborhood meetings, and I am constantly on social media, always answering questions and trying to make sure that I'm accessible to anyone, whether you're a resident or not a resident. So I do think that the city is extremely transparent, and we do everything. We try to make sure that people have multiple opportunities to speak on these issues. I think we are the best to do it. I think we are top notch. But secondly, when it comes to just even the concept of the continuance, and I respect what Councilmember Cubie is saying on this, but from my perspective, we're having the opportunity tonight to have a very thoughtful, robust discussion. And I think that from the data that the staff has showed, not just to council, quite honestly, but to the entire public, about all of the tangible, concrete public benefits that will be gained as a result of this project. And so if Donna didn't have those numbers this evening, or Maria didn't have those things listed out by line item, I would be the first one too coming up and saying, we don't have enough information. The public is going to watch this and they're going to go, what are they voting on? I don't have the information. But the fact of the matter is, we've had this conversation now for the last hour or so, and the public has learned every single detail about this project. And what we're seeing here is that the amount of public benefit we are getting in return outnumbers the GIPLET that we're giving by about $2 million, and tangible public benefit. So I feel that once people have the information, there's no need for the continuance, because we've done everything we can to give people the information they would need to make the decision that any of us would frankly make. And so in most situations, if there was something that staff wasn't able to present, or something that the developer wasn't able to present, I would be the first person saying, let's push this to March 3rd and have a conversation at that point. But I feel like we have been so transparent in terms of our public hearing process, the public meetings that we offer people, and even the conversation that's happened tonight, where staff has done an exceptional job of providing information to members of the public and anyone watching at home, as well as to our city council. So I will go ahead and see if there's any more comment on this, and if not, I'll just go ahead and entertain a vote on the continuance motion. All right, hearing none, I will go ahead and entertain a motion on the motions on the floor for a continuance to March 3rd, made by Councilmember Cubie and seconded by Councilmember Adams. I'll go ahead and take a roll call vote. Councilmember Navarro.
No.
Councilmember Cubie.
And to explain my vote, we did not have a presentation at the first read, so that is why I am voting aye.
Okay. Councilmember Garland.
No.
Vice Mayor Keating.
Yes.
Councilmember Arredondo Savage.
No.
Councilmember Adams.
Aye.
And I vote no. That motion fails 3-4. Okay, so next up here, is there any further comment on this item? I know Councilmember Cubie, you said you had something else you wanted to add?
I did. So, I'm glad we can have this discussion, Mr. Mayor, and I would hope that as a council, we don't have to do it formally, but I think it's really important. And I know things were maybe different before, we served together 18 months when you were a council member and I was a council member. And so sometimes we have presentations first read, sometimes not. Now, I would like just to make it a practice that we always have presentations on the first read. And if second read wants to be briefer, that's okay. But I just think it's important so we don't get into the situation again. And I really appreciate how respectful you were about why I was bringing that forward. So that's just one thing. The other thing is, we had this opportunity to, invest heavily in Hometown for All, and there's been $6 million raised. And I salute you, Mr. Mayor, and I have on numerous occasions. I think Hometown for All was a really great response to preemption, that we are preempted from requiring affordable housing. And that is a very frustrating fact of life. And we know that, and I do this work at ASU, my Stardust Center for Affordable Housing. It's frustrating that, we don't have this very important tool that other cities have. So I recognize that this is going to bring us $10 million to that, to the Hometown for All. And that's going to more than double what we've received since it began. And we'll be able to make significant investments, buying more housing, buying more apartments. And we will be able to kind of continue that acquisition from our affiliates. So that's really good. It's not just a public benefit, it meets an immediate and growing need in our city. But here's going to be my suggestion tonight. And it's not asking more of the developer, but we are talking about money that's still left on the table. If we are going to sell this property for $35.5 million, it's not, not necessarily finalized, but it's likely to be that amount. And, if we don't approve the project, we don't get that money. So this isn't part of a current budget forecast. I confirmed that with our chief financial officer. We don't have that $0.5 million in our general budget, that's general fund budget that's coming up. We're not planning for that. So what I'm hoping is that we could direct, if not all of that, at least a percentage of that to Hometown for All. And so then we're talking about a win-win, I think. It really increases the public benefit. And we would be able to invest up to $45.5 million in the next, let's say it's 8 years. I'm not sure exactly the time frame. We know it's not a simple black and white thing, but if we could commit, I would like to see us commit the entire amount. And the reason I'm asking for that tonight and I appreciate your passion, Mr. Mayor, and I know you appreciate my passion, is that we often say, and Councilmember Navarro, you say it, often, that we really can't do much. We do best when we take our land and we sell it, or we give it to a developer to build affordable housing, or work with Newtown Community Land Trust Development, work with Habitat, work with Gorman Construction. We do best that way. So here we have this land, and it's 36.5 million. So shouldn't we consider investing, if not all of it, a percentage of it in Hometown for All? And that would be a very strong public benefit that would really be transformational, and it would reflect this council's highest priority, which is affordable housing. And I'm not sure if we can decide on that tonight. To me, my vote's kind of contingent on it. I want to make sure that money doesn't just go to the general fund, but a percentage of it goes into Hometown for All. But I ask council, is this something you'd be interested in directing the sales of that, whether it's a percentage or all of it, to Hometown for All, considering that, we can't necessarily build affordable housing on the lake. The prices are too expensive. It doesn't pencil out. But can we consider doing that and really making an incredibly strong statement and investment in our affordable housing future?
Thank you, Councilmember Cubie.
Not up for discussion.
Oh yeah, no, thank you. Appreciate it. Two quick points that I want to go to Councilmember Navarro. One on the first point you made regarding having full presentations during first hearings. I just wanted to make sure I commented on that. I know that's something you've talked about. I know Councilmember Arredondo Savage has talked about that quite a bit as well. From my perspective, yeah, if we are going to kind of establish a sort of a new norm as a council that for, let's say, kind of big projects or big ticketed items, that we always have a full presentation during that first hearing, I'm totally fine with that. If that's something that, people feel like would give more insight into the process and give people more time to digest and typically come back 2 weeks later during the second hearing and the final vote, I'm totally all good with that. So you have my full support on that item. The second thing, regarding the like the $36 million roughly of the land sale, there's obviously some precedent for us doing that. We had a project within the last year or so where we dedicated, it was a $2.6 million land sale, I believe, and we dedicated all of that money to the Tempe Coalition for Affordable Housing. This is, 36 million, so it's quite a bit more money. And I'm not ruling that out. I think the only thing from my perspective, though, would be I would love to schedule it for even an upcoming work study, maybe even our next work study session, so the council can have a conversation about it. Because the real thing I want to do, and I know you're saying that money isn't currently like encumbered somewhere else, but I want to make sure in terms of, talking to our chief financial officer and deputy city manager, Tom Dunsing, that we actually, because we have a lot of needs here, whether it's, we get calls all the time, as we all know, about homelessness is a big challenge in our community, transportation needs, alley maintenance, streets, all of these items. And I just want to make sure that we're making a decision about what the right percentage is, so to make sure that we're not shortchanging other needs that the city actually really needs to have done. I mean, I got off the phone with a gentleman last night who was talking about alleys and potholes and streets, and we routinely hear comments about that and a lot of other items. So I don't have a problem. I'm actually supportive of having that conversation at a future work study session, and maybe even the next one, frankly, to put like an actual timeline on it, because I don't want to just push it off until May or June. I understand that, but my biggest thing is like I don't feel comfortable talking about an actual percentage tonight, because I haven't had a chance, because this is a new proposal, to talk to our chief financial officer or Mark Day, who heads up municipal budget, to make sure that what we're doing, whatever, is sort of spreading the money out in the way that really benefits all of our residents. So that's my only concern. But I think that your concept is one that we've done before, and that I approve of, obviously, or support, I should say. And would be happy to schedule that for a future work study session, so the council can have that conversation, which would also give Tom and Mark some time to do some analysis. So that's my perspective. But let me go to Councilmember Navarro.
No, Mayor, thank you for that. No, I agree with you. I won't do this from the dais. I mean, that's just with all the things that are going on in our community, and there's so many needs out there. And especially I want to talk about this, and I've talked to the council, I say this over and over, our core responsibilities to the citizens, our public works, our police, our fire, our streets, roads, all those things, the things that are starting to deteriorate, the fact that we're lacking in staffing in both public works, PD and fire, the fact that apparatus, vehicle, all these things are happening. The behind the scenes stuff with just the support staff, we are far behind. And we've also infused new programs with new roles within the city that actually need support behind those programs to help run efficiency. I sit in another city and I beg for money for various things in just my area, and I'm still waiting years, putting supplementals in year after year after year, and it's critical. It's absolutely critical. So a discussion later on, sure, that's fine, but at the end of the day, I can't do that from the dais right now. That's not responsible with the money, so I will not do that.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember Navarro. Any other council members, any comments?
Yeah, Mayor, I have my hand up.
Yes, please, Councilmember Arredondo Savage.
Yeah, I 100% agree with Councilmember Navarro. I mean, I think it's totally irresponsible that we even consider that right now at the 9th hour. It's like a Hail Mary, and I think it's just really inappropriate and very irresponsible. I think if we want to change our practice and our policies to open the door for different things, and we need to have that as a bigger discussion, I'm fine to have that conversation. I think that we have to remember that we have a lot of residents in this community that are expecting quality services too. We have a great focus on affordable housing. And I'm really proud of the work that we've done to date and the work that we're going to continue to do and the impact that we've made. We're making dents, we're making strides, we're moving forward. But there are a lot of things that we need to take care of, whether it's our roads. If you look at our citizen satisfaction survey, there's quite a few things that we can be doing better on. And if safety is one of those things, which we all know it is, we want the very first and foremost thing is people need to feel safe in this community. And for me to just allocate a chunk of money away that could be going to a lot of different things that I feel are just as important, just as necessary, impactful to so many people, there's just no way I would make that decision now. I'm happy to have that conversation in the future, but I will not have that impact my decision on this vote here tonight. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Arredondo Savage. Any other council members, any comments?
Hi, Mayor. This is Councilmember Garland. I just wanted to say that I agree with the new policy or idea that we have presentations at the first read. I think it's a really good idea, and I think we should try to do that because I think it does give people the opportunity to be able to see the presentation if they hadn't seen it before. It gives us another opportunity to see it, so it really embeds the information in our brain so we can study a little bit more. I just think it's a good idea. So I agree with Lauren. I think that's a good thing to do.
Sounds good. Thank you, Councilmember Garland. Any other council members, any other comments? Councilmember Cubie.
I'm a bit taken back that my fellow council members would state that I'm making an irresponsible statement to bring up something that we have done before in other occasions where we've donated funds for land sales that to affordable housing. So I'm not being doctrinaire. I'm not saying it should be 100%. I said a certain percentage, and I would hope that we would have a commitment to talk about that at a work study session, because we know that the money is not going to come in as quickly probably as we would hope. And we have made this stated council priority at retreats in the past that we want that affordable housing is the #1 priority. So, yes, I would probably want all of it go to affordable housing to really, truly make a difference, and not such, little bites around the edges. And we're doing so much. I realize that, Councilmember Navarro, you're right. And we do compare so favorably to other cities. I don't think it's quite fair to say I was being irresponsible. But you're obviously entitled to your opinion. But to me, I think we need to really explore this in a work study. I don't know if we have consensus. Can we find out if we have consensus to talk about this in a future work study about what percentage or what amount of the sales price that we would like to donate to Hometown for All? I would like to find that out tonight from my fellow council members if we have a commitment to talk about it at either the next work study or a future work study.
I was going to say, Councilmember Cubie, I think we definitely do, from the conversation that I was sort of hearing whatever from council members, there was definitely, I heard people saying, hey, we'd be willing to have this conversation at a future date, and I can clearly work with, Carla Reese, our clerk, to see what a good time would be to make sure that we are, have enough time for a conversation. But I definitely heard enough support to at least at a minimum have that discussion and see if that would work. So. But I want to make sure, we've got a lot of things on the agenda this evening. I didn't have any other comments but the chair would also entertain a motion as well.
Motion to approve the project.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilmember Navarro and seconded by Councilmember Arredondo Savage. Any further comments or questions? All right, hearing none, I will go ahead and take a roll call vote. Councilmember Navarro?
Aye.
Councilmember Cubic?
I'd like to explain my vote. I am going to vote aye tonight, but it's with the understanding that we will have a serious substantive discussion about how we can truly invest in hometown for all. With the sale of this land, we have an opportunity to really supercharge and really walk the talk of our affordable housing priorities. So with that, I vote aye.
Thank you, Councilmember Cubic. Councilmember Garland?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Keating?
Yes.
Councilmember Arredondo Savage?
Aye, Mayor.
Councilmember Adams?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. That item passes 7-0. The last item under the section is 7C5, which is to hold the second and final public hearing to adopt an ordinance amending Chapter 2, Article 2, Division 2, Tempe City Code, Section 2-31, relating to the Judicial Advisory Board's operating procedures when considering appointments, reappointments, and qualifications of judges. Were there any comments received from the public regarding this item?
Hi, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks,
sorry.
Kara.
Sorry. No additional comments or speakers.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you so much. I'll close the public hearing. Council, any comments or discussion on item 7C5?
Motion to approve, Mayor.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilmember Adams. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Vice Mayor Keating. I'm going to take a roll call vote. Councilmember Navarro?
Aye.
Councilmember Cubic?
Aye.
Councilmember Garland?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Keating? Vice Mayor Keating?
Yes.
Councilmember Arredondo Savage?
Aye, Mayor.
Councilmember Adams?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. That item passes 7-0. Next up, we have item 8 here, current events, council announcements, and future agenda items. I'm going to start with Councilmember Adams this evening.
Mr. Mayor, can you pass on me for a second and I will get my information?
Okay, you got it. Which
Thank
means
you.
I'm going next to Councilmember Arredondo Savage.
Awesome. Thank you, Mayor. I think Jason got a couple slides for me. So whenever they get up, we'll see. I'll base it from there. I'm sure they're gonna be really good. No, I don't know. Oh, that's good. Yeah. Okay. Oh, yeah. There we go. Now we're talking. Now, I mean, I think this is totally appropriate. I mean, since we've got the waste management open going on up north, I just want to remind everybody that we have some really awesome facilities right here in the city of Tempe. So if you want a great value and incredible course conditions, I would highly recommend you check out Rolling Hills or Ken McDonald. There's definitely a lot of fun to be had out there, and also try to stop by the clubhouse after you're around. They have some great food and drinks, and they actually have a lighted driving range at Kenny Mac on Thursdays through Saturdays, I believe. So check out the Tempe website right there, tempe.gov/golf, and you'll be able to make a tea time. So it's pretty fun. I would highly recommend it. And secondly, we have an upcoming stand down, and they actually need some volunteers. So the stand down is on March 17th. That's the Arizona State Fair. And you can see here that they need help with just event setup and breakdown, check-in and registration. And if anybody's interested and has some time and would like to participate, you can register right there, hscforms.com/veteran stand down. So if you've never been to one or seen a stand down before, they're pretty incredible. And it's a great opportunity to see the great work, great resources, that are there for so many veterans that need it, and it's just life-changing. So that doesn't happen by itself. It definitely needs some volunteers to be able to do that. So highly encourage you to, if you can, to participate. All right, thank you, Mayor. That's what I got.
Thank you, Councilmember Arredondo Savage. I'm going to go back to Councilmember Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I really appreciate it. My phone and all my computer equipment was dying, so I had to get it charged and go to a different location. Anyway, a couple things. First of all, Valentine's Day is next week, the 14th, and so I want to wish everybody a happy Valentine's Day, and remember to wish your loved ones a happy Valentine's Day. Second, on February 14, 1912, Arizona became the 48th state to join the United States. And so it's really exciting that, it's almost our statehood day. So when we became a state, we were only 200,000 people strong in Arizona. And now we're the 14th most populous state in the country with over 7 million residents. So wow, how things change. And Tempe is the state's 9th largest city. And Arizona is also the 6th largest geographical area and home to over 20 federally recognized Native American tribes. So proud of Arizona and everything that we do here, and just love living here. The second Sundays is coming up, and this one is about Game On in downtown Tempe in honor of the Super Bowl. So we're going to have lots of activities downtown Tempe, including from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. And it's going to be a whole lineup of family fun. So we're going to have outdoor yoga classes, we're going to have fitness classes, live music performances, cool kids activities like jumbo checkers. I really want to check that out. No pun intended. And we're going to have free mini golf, sidewalk chalk, and kids game themed crafts. So named a unique gift for, or you need a unique gift for Valentine's Day, we're going to have over 75 local Arizona vendors at the outdoor market on Mill. So I, for one, am going to do some Christmas shopping early. So thank you. And go to downtowntempe.com for details and schedules. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Adams. Next up, Councilmember Garland.
Hi, Mary. Thank you. Gonna wait till my slides come up here so I can tell you what I'm going to be talking about. I think I have slides. There you go, Jason. Oh, first thing I want to do is thank everybody, all the volunteers and the staff and our police department, everybody who came out to help out with the point in time count. The volunteers have to get there about 5:30. We leave and start doing the counting of our unsheltered in our community at 6 o'clock, and we stop at noon. So it's a long day, but it is really beneficial to our community. And I just want to say thank you so much for all the volunteers. And I want to give a really good shout out to Councilmember Cubie, because over the past number of years, she has been providing the breakfast for everybody. So the meal that we get to sustain us while we are out walking around, she gives that to us. I just want to tell Councilmember Cubie, I just want to say thank you again. I really appreciate you doing that. And then the next slide is my backstage pass. We had to move it from February 2nd because of COVID, but we're going to be doing it March 2nd. I hope that you guys can come out and join me. We're going to get a tour starting at 5:30. We're going to break up in a couple groups, and we're going to get a chance to go backstage at the Tempe Center for the Arts, and we're going to see this back of the stage. We're going to learn about the building itself. There's going to be a lot of really cool things to see backstage, and we hope you can join us. After that, we're going to do questions and answers with me on the rooftop. And then they also have open mic that night. So when we're done, you can just go downstairs and let's just listen to some good music. So I hope that you can join me. That's March 2nd at 5:30 until 7. So I hope you can join us. And that's it. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Garland. Next up, Vice Mayor Keating.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't have a slide, but I do want to congratulate Councilmember Grandma on the birth of her first grandchild. I thought we were going to see pictures and all kinds of slides about it today, but I guess not. So congratulations to you, Doreen.
Thank you. I cannot believe I did not bring up pictures. I'm such a bad grandma. Thanks, Randy.
I mean, I wasn't going to say it. It's not my business to say it. But anyway, congratulations to you again.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you.
I just want to, the Super Bowl is on Sunday, and I would like to invite all Tempeans and joining me in rooting for the Los Angeles Rams. And here's why. I hate to root for a team from LA. I don't like the city. I don't like the people. But their quarterback, Matthew Stafford, was a long time, 12-year Detroit Lion who stuck with the team. He's a class act. Even after he got traded, he invested millions of dollars of his own money into a human services shelter in the city of Detroit. I mean, the guy's just as good as you can possibly be for, being elevated to, a superstar status at such a young age. So, here's hoping Matthew Stafford finally gets that ring. I think the whole country outside of Ohio is rooting for him. So, I'm excited for the Super Bowl, and I hope that all long-suffering Detroit fans and all long-suffering any franchise fans get to see this class act finally get the win that he deserves. So, Super Bowl Sunday, go Rams.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Keating. Next up, Councilmember Cubie.
Thank you. I too want to congratulate Councilmember Garland. And, I'm on your human puppy. And I just have grand dogs, and I'm very jealous. So congratulations. That's such a blessing. And I do have a slide, so we'll come up. Connecting with QB. So it's going to be March 12th, Saturday, 10 to 11:30, Daly Park at the Pavilion. And I so miss talking to people directly in person about any sort of controversy or non-controversy, potholes, larger issues, but please come to Daly Park. I would love to engage and talk to you and follow up with the issues of concern. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Cubie. Councilmember Navarro.
Thank you, Mayor. I think I have a slide coming up. And there it is. So Tempe and Care 7 are proud to support Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month in February. Dating violence is more common than people think, especially among teens and young adults. 1 in 3 teens in the United States will experience physical, sexual, and emotional abuse by someone they are in a relationship with before they are an adult. Tempe is unique in that we have 13 Care 7 youth specialists in our high schools and middle schools providing social and emotional support to our students. Our specialists focus on education about healthy relationships, promotes self-empowerment, and connects students with resources that they need. The impact of the pandemic are especially felt within our teens, and they need the support now more than ever. We're grateful for Care 7 and the youth specialists this month and every month. So if you guys can, support this, and I appreciate it. Thank you, Mayor. And go Rams.
Thank you, Councilmember Navarro. Really appreciate it. All right. Next up is me. I just have one slide here and another announcement after that. But so Play Day. So Tempe's annual day of play is going to be held from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. on Saturday, February 26th at Kiwanis Park. And we would just encourage all Tempe residents to come join us for free family fun that is guaranteed to get your feet moving and, of course, your heart pumping. Activities include kayaking, sports, arts, library, and STEM activities, plus a football agility course. We're talking a lot about the Super Bowl tonight, so I think that's totally what we. I was going to say par for the course, but I figured I'd be mixing sports, and Vice Mayor Keating would jump on and yell at me. But a football agility course hosted by the Arizona Cardinals and FIT. So please check out tempe.gov/playday for more information. Secondly, I wanted to congratulate Councilmember Garland on becoming a grandmother as well. I know I know how excited she has been about that experience. And so I'm just so happy for her. And I know that, it's just, I look forward to that day at some point myself. So, but seriously, congratulations. And I wanted to also, just as my last announcement, just say, so our city attorney, Judy Bauman, is stepping down after 14 years of service to the city of Tempe. including 9 as the city attorney here. And I just wanted to say, to Judy, thank you so much for 14 years of service in our attorney's office, for your legal advice, for your professionalism, for your candor, for everything you did on behalf of the city council and city councils before to really provide exceptional legal advice and support and leadership of that office, especially the last 9 when you were the top person in the department as the city attorney. I always had a great time working with Judy. I know the other members of council did as well, and we are really going to miss her. I know she's going to be with us till May, helping out with the transition. But honestly, Judy is the consummate professional, and we are really going to miss her. And we wish her all the best of luck in her future, all of her future endeavors. So, Judy, thank you so much for all of your service to the city of Tempe, our staff, and our residents. And with that, we have number 9, public appearances. Were there any additional public appearances, Madam Clerk?
Mr. Mayor, all the comments and speakers were taken care of at the first public appearances. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Well, then I will go ahead then, since that's over, and adjourn the meeting at 9:53. Council, I just wanted to say very quickly, we are going to just go ahead and postpone the executive session, the remainder of it due to the late hour, and we'll work to schedule another one. But just want to let everybody know, we are done for the evening, but thank you everyone for joining us at home. We really appreciate it, and thank you, Council.